Every day in business starts with a number. Output, productivity, efficiency, all measured in numbers, because data drives decisions. And if fire or water damage strikes, the numbers for your business can slow or even stop. Unless you know this one, 1-800-SERVPRO, the number one choice in commercial cleanup and restoration.
The most realistic online racing sim ever made. This is iRacing. Detailed laser scan tracks, fully dynamic real-world cars, and over 50 series to choose from. 6 online world championships offering over $100,000 in annual prizes. This is the original esport racing game. This is iRacing.
Life happens everywhere. Like it never even happened, only happens here. The cleanup and restoration specialists at 1-800-SERVPRO and SERVPRO.com.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome live to 3Wide TV, tonight's broadcast of the American Sim Racing Series, Hacksaw PC's Premier Series, and Round 4 of the SERVPRO Wheelman Showdown here at Talladega Superspeedway. I'm Peter Short, and joining me in the booth here tonight, well, we got a couple of people up here in the booth tonight. Should be a very fun show, but sitting right next to me is, of course, Greg Rentz and Nicholas Rees. And Greg, great to be back at Superspeedway. Always very interesting when you come here. Very different type of racing. A lot of drivers, they're not too excited to be here tonight. But I'll tell you who is excited to be here tonight. Myself and a lot of the people watching, because this is the type of racing, you never know who's going to win it. It is a shootout all the way to the end.
Yeah, I'm excited to see how this race unfolds through the course of this one, Peter, because this is the wild card race, as it's come to be known so often here in the world of racing. Talladega, you hear the word Talladega, you think wild card, and 94 laps the distance tonight, and anybody in the field has a legitimate shot at putting it in victory lane, because these are 94 of the most unpredictable laps on the planet, and it's going to be a wild race. And we've seen it in practice earlier today. They were going 3-4 wide, cars bouncing off each other. Those giant spoilers coming into play already, Peter. This is going to be an insane race tonight.
Absolutely, and speaking of unpredictability, we've had one Superspeedway race this year. That was the Glassdoor Brewing 250 at Daytona International Speedway to kick off the season. The winner of that race was Ty Hester. Folks, Ty didn't qualify for tonight. We had so many drivers try to qualify for this race. Ty didn't make it. So we'll have a new winner on a Superspeedway this season, and I'm very much looking forward to it. But Nicholas, great to see all these cars out here tonight. Huge field. What are you expecting to see? Are you expecting to see some pack racing here tonight, or what are you kind of expecting to see?
Well, as mentioned before, it's definitely going to be pretty unpredictable. But what I do expect to see, Peter, is definitely some pack racing, as you said. I'm expecting guys to be working together, and then, of course, when it gets down to the last couple of laps, it's going to just go crazy there. I mean, it's just going to all unfold, and then, yeah, so, yeah, a lot of pack racing, like you said, and, yeah.
Well, you'll also have to think about whenever you come to a track like Talladega Superspeedway is the big one. Will we see the big one here tonight? How many cars will it take out? Will it happen early? Will it happen late? It always happens when you come to one of these racetracks, although we've seen a lot of green flag racing out of the American Sim Racing Series here on 3Wide TV over the last couple of weeks. It has been a fantastic show. Of course, last week we had Richmond, and then 2 weeks prior to that we had Bristol Motor Speedway, rounds 2 and 3 at the SERVPRO Wheelman Showdown. And folks, the SERVPRO Wheelman Showdown is a championship within a championship, and one driver has so far won all 3 of the SERVPRO Wheelman Showdowns, and that is Greg Evans. We'll have to keep an eye on him here tonight. He's moving up in the points. He missed the race earlier this season, had a couple of terrible finishes back at Homestead, Miami, and Texas Motor Speedway, but he's got 2 wins in a row. Can he make it 3 in a row here tonight? So that is one of the storylines that we are going to have to focus on, but we are in the qualifying session, and Greg, right here we see the number 32 machine going around the racetrack. That, of course, is Jordan Harnish. Got a little bit different scheme on that car this week. Got the Simporium Toyota Camry, so great to see that car. But you see him running that high line, Greg, and why does he do that out on his qualifying line?
With the restrictor plate package that we run here at Talladega and Daytona, it takes these cars about a lap to get up to full speed from the time you leave pit road till right about the time you get around to the start-finish line. So what he's doing by running on the very top against the wall, he is taking the longest route possible to use as much racetrack as possible to try to build up speed to have as fast of a first lap as possible. And once he completes the first lap, which I believe he is here, we're going to see him dive down to the bottom. There he goes into turn number 1, diving down to the bottom to try to take that shorter route for the second lap. The second lap is definitely the money lap in a track such as this, Talladega, Alabama, the very fast 2.66 mile oval, and he has a little bit of a hard time there off of turn number 2 trying to keep it down on the bottom. But what you're doing, you want to have your car up on the very top on the first lap, use as much track as you possibly can before diving down to the bottom and using the least amount of track you possibly can before you take the checker flag on your second lap.
Yeah, absolutely. You do want to get as much of your lap time diminished by keeping those speeds up in your, at least on your time lap. There you see the number 1 machine of Jason Stewart, and you'll see these guys drive around that high groove for a lap and a half. Basically, once they come off pit road and merge up onto the racetrack, they're going to stay around that high line until they get to their final. They get 2 qualifying laps, and that second lap will be faster because they built up all that momentum, like you had mentioned there, Greg. But while we see these guys out there on the racetrack right now, why don't we pull up the current points standings as we go on board with the number 6 Cheerwine machine. Looks like he's pulling off the racetrack, getting a little bit of pit road practice in here. That, of course, is Jared Haggerty. There are the points, and sitting atop the board is John Jenkins. He has 1 win on the season. Mitch Brown sitting in second. Your reigning Hacksaw PC's Premier Series champion. Of course, he's got a checkered flag next to his name because he won the American Sim Racing Series All-Star Invitational a couple weeks back. Doesn't actually have a win this season in the Premier Series points, but he is sitting second in points. Will Worsler in third currently. He's 60 markers behind John Jenkins. James Florello sitting in fourth. Tyler Seville in fifth. Christopher Bouchard sixth, and there's Greg Evans. Circle that name, folks. He will be driving the number 83 machine here tonight. 4 wins on the season, 3 of them in the SERVPRO Wheelman Showdown, and 2 of them in a row coming into tonight's race. So he'd make it 3 in a row if he can get back to victory lane. Michael Krobach, Brian Yazek, 2 teammates there sitting 8th and 9th, the HPPSimulations.com cars, and Jimmy McKee rounding out your top 10 here tonight. So John Jenkins having a little bit of a buffer up there at the top. And Nicholas, when you have a little bit of, I would say, throwaway capability here at Talladega, I'm sure you're going to go maybe a little bit harder. You're going to see some drivers probably lay back at the start of this race to kind of stay away from what might be the big one. Are you expecting to see 2 separate packs? Are you going to expect to see some drivers kind of play the points here tonight? What are you expecting, Nicholas?
Yeah, well, I was actually thinking about this a little bit earlier. I do think that there are going to be 2 packs, one running, of course, near the front, and then just further back, there's going to be another pack back there. And, of course, you may have some guys just leaning towards the back, staying towards the back there, trying to avoid the big one, get around it, and then get up top 10. And yeah, it's a good plan to use to take an effect, staying back and then hoping to pass the big one if should it happen.
Absolutely, and you always have to think about the possibility of green flag pit stops, usually happening around between 32 to 35 laps usually at these super speedways, so that's going to be something I'm going to be keeping my eye on here tonight. It is a 2.66 mile racetrack, 94 laps, so pretty long race here tonight. It is 250 miles for this SERVPRO Showdown event. Current track conditions, well, you can see it's mostly cloudy out there. Track fairly cool at only 89 degrees track temperature. The ambient temperature 79 degrees Fahrenheit, so we'll have to see if that can carry over into the race or not, but that will definitely give these drivers a little bit more grip. I know you don't often talk about grip at a super speedway, but I'll tell you what, when grip starts to go away on a super speedway, it is a very chaotic situation. Sometimes you just get a setup that's a little bit too loose, and I don't think these drivers will have to fight that here tonight. Here we go on board with John Jenkins. He's trying to get woed up to get down to pit road speed before hitting those two yellow cones that demarcate the end of pit road. So Adam Jersky there for just a quick second, but that Dryden Toyota Camry is going down pit road right now. That is your points leader, so we'll have to keep an eye out for John Jenkins with a healthy buffer coming into tonight's race and also getting into his pit box. That is something that I'd say is very much overlooked when you come to a super speedway, is getting in your pit box. Getting onto pit road is step one, but getting into your pit box is so difficult because with the brake package that these cars run on the super speedways, they don't have a lot of braking power. And Greg, you and I know races can be won or lost on pit road.
Absolutely, especially at a track such as this, getting on and off pit road so important here. And one of the most important things about pit road, getting off pit road, because the start finish line is after pit road. So pit road can come into play just because you won the race off pit road under green. You're not even going to be out front possibly that lap. So pit road is a lot different here at Talladega with the pit road in the tri-oval before you get to the start finish line. And Peter, does that affect the pit strategy at all, or is that more or less just to keep your cool and not mess up entry so much because you have a long way to go to get it back?
Well, I definitely think that pitting is a very important part of the strategy here when you come to Talladega. I personally don't want to run until the very last lap to pit. You kind of want to get yourself a buffer. You want to put yourself into the position to get onto pit road in a non-chaotic state. When you come to Talladega, if you got all 40 cars, and yes, folks, we have a 40-car field here tonight. If you had all 40 cars get to pit road all at the same time in a single pack, it's just not going to work. If you have 2 or 3 laps of fuel left and you're on the inside groove and you got a buddy, you got a partner to come down pit road with you, and maybe a couple of other cars to come down pit road with you, take that opportunity. Don't wait for the last second, because if you wait to the last second, it is going to be chaos. You're going to have a difficulty getting down. There might be contact. Your race can be won or lost both on entry onto pit road, getting into your pit box, and of course getting up there out onto the racetrack. We've seen it multiple times before with these cars down there on the apron getting a little bit loose and ending up spinning out, going up the racetrack, causing big melees. So you don't want to have that happen. But I'll tell you what, folks, the qualifying session here is wrapping up. Tyler Seville in the number 11 Porcupine's machine with his teammate currently 1-2. The track has gone quiet, so that is all of the times that you will see here tonight. A lot of cars not taking time. About 6 cars did not take time, so we'll have to see how that all sorts out. But we'll go over into the race, and you see the sun has popped out, so that could play a very interesting spoiler throughout this race. We'll have to keep an eye on whether or not those cars get slippery or not on the long run. Hopefully we get some long green flag runs. I want to give a shout out to a couple of people that we have in the chat. We got Aunt Kathy, Jake Rabel, Nikki Worsler, Richard Fletcher in the chat, Mark Cohn from the DMLC Racing Channel. If you like Indy cars, check out the DMLC Racing channel of Mark Cohn. But we have this field now gridding. And folks, why don't we go through tonight's starting lineup for round 4 of the SERVPRO Wheelman Showdown. Greg, why don't you lead us through it?
Tyler Seville gets the pole here tonight in the Porcupines machine. He will roll off to the inside of his teammate, Craig Stykes. It's an all-wheel Worsler Racing front row. Brian Yazik rolling off in P3 with Nick Gardner back in the field in the 4th position. The All-Star Showdown winner, Mitch Brown, rolls off in 5th position with Will Worsler, the team owner of Will Worsler Racing. He rolls off in 6th. Danny Rogers and John Jenkins, the Premier Series point leader, will roll off in row 4, 7th, and 8th. Jimmy McKee and James Lorello round out the top 10, Peter.
Starting in the 11th position is the number 1 machine of Jason Stewart and the 77 of Alex Giese to his outside. Alex really hoping to get a good run here tonight. Then you find the HPPSimulations.com number 72 of Michael Krobach lining up 13th, and to his outside the Marine Corps number 53 of John Broussard. Starting in 15th, we have Jake Douglas sporting the TPH, the Parts House Ford Mustang here tonight. A little bit of a different scheme on that car. It was outside the number 99 of Clarence Bonner. Starting in the inside of row number 9, Jonathan Holstein in the number 73, and Jordan Harnish will roll off 18th. Pete Baskins in the number 27 will roll off 19th, and rounding out your top 20 is the number 50 of Christopher Bouchard. Greg?
Doug Mullins, who had a good run going last week at Richmond before strategy ultimately was his undoing, looks to bounce back from the 21st position with Jake Crable to his outside. Adam Jersky and Brandon Stokes make up row number 12, 23rd, and 24th. Woody Mahan and Cody Spiker roll off in 25th and 26th. Kelsey Rogers and Travis McDonald, 27th, 28th, and rounding out the top 30, Brad Lee and Tim Knott.
Starting in the 31st position is the number 28 of Troy Haight and the number 6 of Jared Haggerty. Ethan Adams in the number 88 machine will roll off from 33rd, Michael Whiting 34th. And then we had a slew of drivers who did not take time, including David Washington, Eric Stanford, 35th, 36th. Greg Evans in the number 83. He decided not to qualify, and he's trying to go for 3 wins in a row. Tony Schoen, 38th. Shane Parrish and Alan Young also not out there. So for qualifying, John Van Varellis and Sam Crow. And looks like Richard Fletcher, he is one of the alternates, so he will not make the race here tonight. Also getting word that the number 99 of Clarence Bonner has not made the start of this race. The number 14 also, Bonner was due to start in the 16th position, and the number 14 machine of Brad Lee was due to start in 29th. So it does look like we have 40 cars out there on the racetrack right now. We'll have to see how it all plays out, but will be a pretty interesting race to see here, Greg.
It will be interesting, Peter. What will the winning strategy be? Are we going to see the winner come from running up at the front the whole time, or will the race winner come from the back for the first half? We're 94 laps away from finding out. Pace Truck is pulling off.
Pace Truck is going to head down pit road. These drivers are going to have to come down at 70 miles an hour. They're going to have to come through the tri-oval because remember, the start-finish line is all the way past that tri-oval. The race is in the hands of the number 11 Slice Porcupines machine of Tyler Seville, and folks, you bet your money on the fact that those two Slice Porcupines machines are in the communications with one another as to when Seville was going to get on the throttle. He got on the throttle, but here comes Craig Stykes. I think Stykes got a really good start there. Maybe Seville kind of led him in to when he would lay the throttle down, but I'm really impressed with how that outside groove got going, because here comes Craig Stykes with a little bit of momentum and a little bit of help from Nick Gardner in that number 38 machine halfway down the back.
One thing I've noticed in the Talladega races I've been running over the last couple of weeks in both the trucks and ARCA, the outside lane seems to really be good on the exit of turn number 2, and the outside lane can really get some momentum going if they get in line, and we saw that there on the initial start off of turn number 2 as Stykes was able to get out in front of Seville with help from both Gardner and Brown. Will Horsler was able to get down in front of the guy who started to his inside, which was Mitch Brown. Brown wound up shooting up to the top side, so the Will Horsler racing cars were trying to get sorted out single file. Right now, they're split by Ryan Yazik into 55, who's third in line on the inside, but it's a Will Horsler breakaway up front, the top two. Craig Stykes and Tyler Seville leading the charge single file before they're side by side from third on back.
Yeah, those two, number 57 and number 11, the Will Horsler Racing machines, definitely out front and going to be working together, I'm sure, here on board with Mitch Brown in the number 51 machine. He is trying to push Nick Gardner up to the front, but he's got the number 29 machine of Will Horsler to his inside, and I know Will's trying to help out his two teammates up in front. The owner of Will Horsler Racing, of course, in that number 29 machine. He's got Brian Yazik between himself and his two team cars in front of him. Good qualifying run for Brian Yazik, and really we've seen some good runs out of Yazik in qualifying as of late. Really hasn't had the luck to put it together for a win yet, but look at that outside groove here, starting to get a little bit of a move. And Nicholas, what are you starting to see back at the back of the field?
In the back, I mean, they're working together right now, trying to get back up there into the front, and hopefully going to be avoiding the big one should it happen here soon or even later.
Yeah, it looked like to me that they were getting very strung out back there, getting all single file in that shot that we had about half a lap ago when we saw all the cars racing by back there, but 2 by 2 up at the front. There you see some of the SERVPRO cars all getting together. They did a fantastic job of working together as a team back at Daytona, back in the Glassdoor Brewing 250. But here back at the front, it is still the two Will Horsler Racing machines on the inside, with Nick Gardner in the number 51 and Mitch Brown to the outside. Alex Giese in the number 77 machine. He's now the third car, on the outside group. So some good runs here early on, but that inside group looks very strong coming out of turn number 4, Craig.
And the inside lane is definitely working. And one guy I've been keeping my eye on just went down to the inside. It's that number 32 car of Jordan Harnish, started 18th. He had already moved up into the 8th position, up 10 spots before the outside lane stalled out a little bit, and he tucked in behind James Lorello in the 3 to settle into the 9th spot. So Jordan Harnish already up 9 positions, was up 10 before losing the momentum on the outside, which, by the way, we now have a 3-wide situation as the extreme outside, as we call it, had started to come in with a couple of cars up there. Mitch Brown and Alex Giese trying to lead the charge on the extreme outside, but that's going to stall out. And Mitch Brown coming in down in front of the number 18 to try to settle this back down. Doug Mullins with a big run there on the outside, which was the middle. Now he's the 4th car in line on the outside, which has settled back into 2, as it looks like Nick Gardner is going to lead the outside lane for a charge at the lead right now, as he's got the 72 of Krobach right behind him, and he is door to door with Stykes.
Yeah, tough break there for the 77 of Giese, having a little bit of a connection issue there on the high groove, but it was really impressive to see the number 72 machine, Michael Krobach, push Nick Gardner almost to the race lead when they were 3 wide, just like a cannon up the middle. Those two went, and I'll tell you what, Gardner once again vying for the race lead side by side with Craig Stykes. We'll see who can get to the stripe first this time, as this will be 6 laps down and 88 more to go. It's a long race here tonight, 250 miles. It is a battle of attrition, perhaps, here at Talladega. You always have to think about the big one. When will we see it? Will we see it early? Will we see it later? But a couple of really good-looking race cars up at the front. Of course, Nick Gardner got Carolina Nutt on that number 38. Getting a little bit of a nudge from the number 72. And the 72 and the 38 locked together, nose to tail. A little bit of a tandem push there by Krobach off into turn number 3. Now, I'll tell you what, guys, that looked to be pretty good of a move. Just couldn't quite keep it there through turn number 3 and 4. But Nicholas, we've seen in the past that tandem racing used to be a thing, but it looks like maybe you can start to hook up and push a car to the front like that.
Yeah, if you do try and hook up, you can definitely get them to the front and then You can go from there, who will get the lead. And yeah, I mean, like, you're just gonna keep pushing your partner, your drafting partner. You can have as much of a draft as you want to get up there into the front, maybe make a few moves.
We'll have to see. You can see the number 38 and the 72 locked together once again. They were about a full car length behind Craig Stykes until they locked together, and that pushed Gardner level with Stykes. And once again, they fall back a little bit there through turn number 3 and 4, but 2 by 2 by 2 by 2. Look at this gaggle of cars, really a bunch of cars. Ooh, a little bit of connection issues there once again by Alex Kesey back in the pack. I'm kind of curious to whether or not he'll pull out of this pack here in a half lap or so, just to give himself a little bit of distance. You do not want to be the cause of a caution here in the early going, but this front pack is about 20 cars deep. Jake Douglas in the number 49 machine is currently in 19th place. He's right there behind Jonathan Holt. There you go. There is the number 49 of Douglas. He started up near the front, and he's, well, not that close to the front, up in 15th. He's lost a couple of spots. Your biggest mover so far, though, is one of the Slice Perky Pines Will Worsler Racing machines, the number 18 of Doug Mullins, plus 14 spots. There he is on the outside groove, right behind the Patriot Media and Marketing Toyota Camry. Your reigning series champion Mitch Brown. Here we go, on board with Stykes. Not Stykes, Doug Mullins in the number 18 machine. And I'll tell you what, to gain 13 spots here at Talladega in 10 laps, it doesn't sound like a whole lot, but with how little they've been racing here, Greg, it's kind of impressive that he's been able to slice and dice his way up to the front.
Yeah, I've been keeping my eye on him for the last couple of laps, Peter, as he has really done a good job making the outside lane work, and he made a couple moves up the middle when the 3 wide situation began developing, so he's done a great job kind of feeding through. And wow, Brian Yazik coming up there right in front of him causes him to check up a little bit as Yazik saw the outside lane was working, and he saw Holden try to get in there and took it, but Holden did a great job there to recover and not congest it too much as Nick Gardner had gone down to the bottom. But Doug Mullins has done a great job, but we've got excitement brewing up at the front. Nick Gardner took the lead and got down in front of Craig Stykes, which now gives the lead to the outside lane to the 72 of Krobach, with Mitch Brown pushing behind him. And now we're starting to see that outside lane really start to develop the situation that we've seen time and time again at Talladega. As soon as the leader of the outside lane gets to the front, he dives down to the bottom. So it looks like the outside lane might be the preferred lane for passing, but as far as running around, maybe the inside lane the preferred lane.
Yeah, and you can see the field now starting to go 3 wide through the tri-oval here, and really great to see that there are multiple groups here tonight. There was a long period of time here at Talladega in iRacing where there were only one group, and you really couldn't get those outside groups going. Well, iRacing has worked on that, and now it is fantastic to be here racing very competitively amongst all these cars. And there you can see, oh man, I was watching a little bit further back in the pack, Troy Hay possibly having a little bit of connection issues himself in the number 28 machine. As you see 3 wide there. Oh, look at this, Doug Mullins in the number 18 machine. We just mentioned him a little while ago. He had been the biggest mover. Well, now he's kind of up there in the sucker hole. Not anyone up at 84 might be able to get to his back bumper to give him a little bit of help, but he is to help him. Woody Mahan there.
Mahan able to catch up to Mullins, but that is the extreme outside that we talked about a few laps to go, and that was the lane that Mitch Brown and Alex Kesey were in, and it wasn't really going anywhere for them. So we'll see if maybe 3 cars can make it work, as another car was trying to come up in front of them. No, backing out of it, there is the number 95 of Danny Rogers. He thought about coming up in front of him, but elected to stay behind Mitch Brown instead. Actually, the trying to catch a number of the car that's in front of him, the 87 Jake Crable. And now he's going to go to the outside once again. So now the 95 Danny Rogers is going to make his move, and that opens the door to allow the 32 of Harnish to come back in. And this is what I love about plate racing, Talladega and Daytona, is just the sheer shuffling that goes on every single lap. There's no time to catch your breath, so to speak, as there would be in your standard Cup Series race. This is action 24/7, the entire 94-lap distance. We're on lap 14, and they are slicing and dicing. We still got 80 laps to go in this one.
A long way to go, and really your front pack is now at 24 cars. A couple of the stragglers back there were able to catch back up to this lead pack, and that's where you'd find John Jenkins in the number 24th position, your current points leader. And then there's probably about 15 car lengths between himself and Jimmy McKee, who's leading a single file group. But as I say that single file group now goes double file with Christopher Bouchard poking out with a little bit of help from Brandon Stokes. This is well back of this lead train that you see right here. And my, oh my, I just saw something very impressive out of this backpack. I just saw Brandon Stokes and Bouchard get hooked up, like I mentioned earlier, with the number 72 and the number 38 machine, and those cars just rocketed to the front, Bouchard and Stokes. So they were able to pass about 4 cars around the outside, just working together. So I don't know if the other cars were kind of just backing off, maybe just a smidgen, to give themselves a gap to the front cars, but they really took off. So I'm going to have to keep an eye on Brandon Stokes and Christopher Bouchard. But here we are now, about 16 laps in, and it won't be all too long before we start talking about green flag pit stops here at Talladega. It is always a chaotic mess, especially when you have a full pack of cars like this. As of right now, we're 3 wide now towards the front with that outside group now led by the number 51 of Mitch Brown with a little bit of help from Jake Crable in the victory lane quick oil change.
And Crable sticking with Mitch Brown, and Mitch Brown was the one who was trying to pioneer that extreme outside, and now looks like everybody is elected to go that route, as Nick Gardner was kind of stuck in the middle without a partner. But here's Jared Haggerty now making a move up, and look at the 6 of Haggerty, able to get a run on Lorello and the Will Worsler Racing cars. So Haggerty able to take a struggling Gardner and say, hey, let's go try to make a move, and Gardner was able to get up to the back of him and was able to give him a shot. Lorello, though, comes fighting back now as these two try to set on. Haggerty comes up in front of Mitch Brown, and now, whoa, some contact back there. Great job by everybody. I believe that was Harnish who got shuffled down to the middle, and Alex Giese and company did a great job with that.
I'll tell you what, that was as close as you could get to an accident. And Nicholas, what happened here? Looks like the number 6 and the 51 and the 87 got together.
Yeah, that's what it's looking like. And then some just started diving down low, and then others trying to avoid all of that. Great job by the ones who did, and that was the majority. A very great job avoiding that one, because that could have been a lot worse if others got involved.
Yeah, Jordan Harnish in the number 32 took some evasive maneuver right there, and Alex Giese in the number 77 almost got a right front full of the number 32 machine, and luckily for Giese, he was able to keep going. Looks like there is some right front damage on Giese's number 77 Chevy Camaro, so we'll hopefully that doesn't affect him all too much. You see him back behind Nick Gardner in the Carolina Chevy Camaro, that number 38 machine we saw up towards the front just a few laps ago. But as of right now, here comes Adam Jersky in the number 71 machine. He actually led that last time by, and that Beef Jersky's Cheesecakes machine getting a little bit of help from the number 6 right behind him with Jared Haggerty. Great run by Haggerty so far. Haggerty plus 28 positions in that number 6 Cheerwine Toyota. So great run for Haggerty to get up to the front. I don't think he was trying to lay back. And one thing that we haven't mentioned here, guys, is the fact that there's 2 strategies to beating the big one. Strategy number 1 we've covered, lay back, stay back, let it all happen in front of you. And here comes Haggerty. He wants to sniff at the race lead. Now we're 3 wide for the race lead here in the trial.
Haggerty on the outside, no surprise, Mitch Brown going with him. Mitch Brown loves to take that high line, and now, with no help from behind for quite a bit now, it's going to be the 71 of Jersky getting shuffled back. Jared Haggerty led the lap. He started 32nd position on the grid. He is leading the way on lap 20. What a job by Jared Haggerty to get up there to the front. He is showing that this plate racing is truly the wild card, as anybody can get up there regardless of where they started, up 30 positions already.
Haggerty just slices down in front of that slice porcupines machine of Craig Stykes, and Haggerty will come around. He already led last lap, but he's trying to lead this lap too. But we'll keep an eye on that number 51 machine. Mitch Brown, he's been up there near the front all day long. He's trying to get the race lead here with a little bit of help from the number 32 right behind him of Jordan Harnish. We saw Harnish make that slicing move across the backstretch to keep from causing a big stack up, and now Harnish has recovered very nicely, trying to push that number 51 Dirty Bird Sim Racing machine up. Oh no! Harnish is blown up right in the middle of the pack, and the number 32 machine is up in smoke. We stay green. He's going to get down to the bottom of the racetrack, but that will spell an end to Jordan Harnish's night, just as I was singing his praises. Let's go back and see this on the 3Y TV replay. Nicholas, great job by the whole field to avoid this.
Definitely, we've already had a close call before, and now we've had another one, so probably going to see a lot more close calls, and then of course some accidents should they come soon. But yeah, just had no clean air in front of him, blew up, and like you said, it was great that everyone avoided that.
Yeah, that happened oh so quickly. You see that smoke billowing out of that number 32 machine. Tough break for Jordan Harnish. He has taken that car to the garage as it happens, but we go live once again back up to the front of the pack. There is Craig Stykes trying to get the race lead back, and he has it, Greg.
Craig Stykes able to get the lead back. Look who he's got behind him. Two teammates. In the 11 of Tyler Seville and the 29 of Will Worsler. Scratch that. Mitch Brown was able to get down underneath them, and before Stykes could move up with them, Mitch Brown picked them up and said, hey, you want to go fast, you're going with me. And Stykes honestly didn't have a choice there if he wanted to stay up front, because he had to go with the lane that is much quicker. So Stykes getting the shot from Mitch Brown, and that's going to send his teammates, Seville and Worsler, back.
Yeah, I mean, Will Worsler and the number 11 of Tyler Seville both way back now in the pack. We'll have to see how things cycle through, but they're pretty much back to the 12th and 13th position based off of my live timing and scoring. So that's how quickly things can change here at Talladega. Just when you think you're going for the race lead, psych, you're now back outside the top 10. But we'll see if they can start to get things moving up through the pack once again. Gonna have a quick look and see if we can possibly see if we can find Jordan Harnish for a quick word here to see if he had any indication of that engine blowing up. Doesn't look like we have him here in the Discord with us, so hopefully he can rally next week. It's going to be another great race next week in the Premier Series because, folks, we go to Dover International Speedway, and I've heard some very interesting reports out of Dover International Speedway this week, because that is where, of course, the iRacing Pro Series is at. Well, I've heard some drivers saying that tires are popping on them. They're actually blowing tires before a full pit sequence, as looks like we had a little bit of action here out in the racetrack, possibly a close call once again. Let's see what happened here coming through the trial. The 51. Oh, and the Woody Mahan there. Boy, oh boy. 51 trying to take it 3 wide. I don't think Mahan realized they were 3 wide, and the 51 had to jump on the binders there to back out of it in that number 51 Patriot Media and Marketing machine. Now we are on board with, I believe, the number 41 here of Tim Knott. Yes, indeed, that is Tim Knott. Got Kirkwood Transportation on the hood this week, looking out front, trying to see if he can get back up to the back bumper of number 51. But Nicholas, what I have seen based off of that little scuffle that we just saw on the replay and the engine grenading on the number 23, this field, which was 2x2x2x2, now really you're only 2x2 for your first 6 or so cars.
Yeah, and I'm assuming that not a lot of people, a lot of people are just running single file right now and hoping that they can get up there later throughout the race here. some cars now trying to take it 2x2. But yeah, they're just staying single file there. And I just want to say, I've been counting, that was the third close call that I have seen, and probably a lot more to come. It has been interesting for the first 27 laps here.
Well, the official close call counter is at 3 for now. Hopefully it stays at 3, and we can get to the end of this race like that. But it definitely makes for an entertaining show, that is for sure. Now you start to see a couple of the other drivers starting to get formed up once again. As this, really, whenever you come to a Silver Speedway, the field kind of accordions out, and then it comes back together, and then it fans out again, and so on and so forth. That's, I think, what we're starting to see here. We're starting to see it kind of go through a cycle. We saw those close calls. We'll see whether or not they close up again. Here comes Adam Jersky trying to go 3 wide for the race lead around the outside. Look at Doug Mullins out there in the number 18 machine, kind of getting boxed out by Woody Mahan. In the number 84 machine, a little bit of contact with the turn 1 wall with that number 84 machine. That will thwart the outside groove, and we're 4 wide here. Jay Crable, Doug Mullins in the middle. I don't know if they realize they're 4 wide, but they better hold their line, folks, because we're 4 wide down the backstretch, Craig.
This is a very terrifying prospect. We settle down to 3 wide going into turn number 3, and now we get 2 wide as everybody is settling up. As I say, here comes Adam Jersky in the 71. But when you're 4 wide and your spotter's letting you know, hey, you're 4 wide, that is one of the greatest pucker factors there is in the world of iRacing. Speaking from experience, it happened to me earlier today in an ARCA race. Going down the back, and all of a sudden you're 4 wide. It's like, whoa, boy. I hope everybody else realizes we are, and everybody did a great job there to get through.
Absolutely. I want to give a few shout-outs to the folks in the chat. We've had Ian Green, join us, rooting on John Jenkins in the number 7 machine. We have Daniel Meadows as well. Clarence Bonner, how's it going, folks? Hope all is well. Hope you're all safe and doing well, of course, with all the craziness that's going on. Hopefully we're past the worst of it. Cross fingers, knock on wood, all that jazz. But here we are on 3Y TV. It is round 4 of the SERVPRO Wheelman Showdown. And I'll tell you what, SERVPRO does a fantastic job of cleaning up these messes. We have some pit stops. Oh, here we go. No, they save it. Wow. Jake Douglas in the number 49. Yeah, okay, we're up to 4 now. And this was probably the closest call that we've had yet. Jay Crable in the number 87 machine, Jake Douglas in the number 49, and I think the 87 thought he might have been clear, just tried to follow the number 51 down the racetrack. They made a little bit of contact there, and Jake Douglas, great save. He's still in the 3rd position, and folks, he's trying to come around the outside as we see this replay one more time. There, that was a little tight, maybe a little bit of net code, but definitely that got really, really close. We now go live, and there is Jake Douglas in the middle, was almost spun around a lap ago, and he is now in 3rd. They're 3 wide again now for about the 4th position. The outside groove's just not formed up together. You can see that inside groove getting a lot of momentum with James Lorello in the number 3 machine trying to follow through. Lorello's had a few fantastic runs here in the Hacksaw PC's Premier Series. A little bit of connection issues out of your 2nd place car, Jay Crable, and getting word that the field is actually catching up to Lapacar. And sure enough, the number 1 machine of Jason Stewart, he's lost the draft in the checkered flag PC Toyota, and he is in danger of going 1 lap down the field, getting ever closer to that car. You see that field, your race leader now not even an 1/8 of a lap behind him. They're very, very close. He is going to have a very, very quick field on him shortly, as the number 51, your reigning series champion, Mitch Brown, has taken the Patriot Media and Marketing Services machine to the front. So things continuing to kind of cycle, and we're probably not all too far away from making green flag pit stops. We'll have to see when cars start to dive down pit road. This is about when I expected to see cars come on down for the first green flag pit stop. We'll just have to wait and see whether or not that happens or not here, guys. But should be pretty interesting to see them come down pit road once they finally do.
Yeah, single file, things settling down now as we prepare for green flag pit stops. While we have a break in the action for just a second, I was asking the chat to explain a pucker factor. It's something my driver's ed instructor used to it was a term that my driver's ed instructor used to explain to us when something happens that you're not sure how it's going to go. The exact quote I believe he used was Bobo pucker factor, and we're going to see some of it now as some drivers coming in on the pit road. We'll see who all comes. Looks like the top 8 or so stayed out. Oh, Alex Giese, I believe, was trying to come in and miss pit road, guys.
Yeah, that is going to be an absolute heartbreak for the number 77 machine. He lost a ton of ground. He's going to fall all the way back, and he doesn't have the momentum of the other cars right now. There you see him. He's getting past left, right, and center. You can see he was down there on the apron just trying to get back up to speed, but definitely missed getting to pit road. Woody Mahan in the number 84 machine. What happened to him? Did he miss his pit box? Yes, he did. Bad news for Woody Mahan, and he just went right through pit road, missed his pit box, so that's even worse. He's going to have to come back down pit road in the Mahan Speed Laboratories number 84 machine. There you see the number 3 machine, Lorello coming off, and we have a bunch more cars on pit road here. Everyone doing a good job of getting down pit road. We're seeing a couple of cars, including Haggerty, who was up there in the top 5, have to reverse, missed his pit box, and that goes back to what I said, that getting onto pit roads, step 1, getting in your pit box. Oh, look at the 51. That's it right there. Mitch Brown still not able to find his pit box. Boy, oh boy, this is disastrous for that number 51 machine. You see all the cars now going by him. He's taking 4 fresh tires as well. This is going to be a very long pit stop for the number 51. He'll be all on his lonesome out there. He's been passed by Giese, who missed getting to pit road a lap prior.
Oh, we got problems coming on the pit road. Bouchard and I believe Stokes going around.
Oh, man, the 19 and the 33. Oh, the SERVPRO cars have gone around. The 85 going around, possibly off the nose of his teammate there. So, I'll tell you what. Remember what I said at the beginning of the show, guys? I'll tell you what, guys. At the beginning of the race, I said, I don't want to be the last set of cars on pit road. I want to do so when I have a little bit of space. Ooh, look, ooh, the 19 and the 33, oof. Man, oh boy, oh, that is just a melee if I've ever seen one. That is just a melee.
Right there, Peter.
So we have cars who have significantly lost the draft. David Washington in the 89 machine, SERVPRO Ford Mustang, he might have to come back down pit road. Same thing with Kelsey Rudders, Cody Spiker. Definitely some craziness happening here at the racetrack, but Craig Stykes and James Lorello, I think once this is all said and done, they're going to come out 1-2. There they are on the racetrack. They definitely had some good pit strategy as they go around Jake Douglas. Jake Douglas really was ahead of them, but that momentum, you can see the fact that those two cars are kind of tandem together, that will push them on by Jake Douglas. But Douglas now getting a little bit of help from the number 87 quick lane oil change machine, the victory lane quick oil change, machine of Jay Crable. And you see that victory lane quick oil change Chevy Camaro. And Nicholas, crazy first round of pit stops. You know, a little bit of everything happened, what you'd expect to see at a super speedway. But now that drivers are coming down pit road, do you think they're going to do something a little bit differently, maybe for the second round of green flag pit stops if we get there?
Yeah, well, I'm not really sure how I would put it, but like if I were one of the drivers, I would make sure that I maybe come even just, I don't know, maybe a little bit earlier, because I don't want to be at the back of the pack, or the back of the pack coming down pit road, because as we saw, that's where all of the pit road mayhem happen there, Peter.
Absolutely, and let's keep our eyes on a couple of drivers who did not have the greatest of pit stops in the world. Mitch Brown currently being scored in 29th position, Tony Show in 30th, Eric Stanford 31st, Michael Krobach. If you want to talk about disastrous pit stops, Michael Krobach in the number 72 machine, he's all by himself. Cody Spiker, Kelsey Rogers, David Washington, they had to come down pit road for a second time. Brandon Stokes, Nick Gardner, and Jason Stewart also are close to going a lap down. I think they're still on the lead lap barely. Woody Mahan in the number 84 machine, however, he had to come down pit road again. He's been on pit road twice, and that number 84 machine is being scored one lap down. So Jason Stewart, is being scored one lap down. So the last car on lead lap right now in the 37th position is the number 38 machine of Nick Gardner. You start to see that field go a little bit single file up at the front, 9-car breakaway after all that pit road action, and that's kind of what I expected to see here at Talladega there, Greg, that after a little bit of green flag pit stops, the field gets a little bit strung out, and that's what we're seeing here so far.
And I'm seeing a lot of guys doing a really good job of cooperating with each other and just saying, okay, we're not attached on to the first draft per se. A lot of guys in the second draft, they're staying in line to try to get back up, and they have caught up to the draft of that first group. They're being led right now by Tim Knott, who has caught on to the draft of the car in front of him, which I believe is the one who I believe is a lap down, and just managed to catch on to the tail end. Yes, it is the number one of Jason Stewart, who is a lap down. The next car for position is Will Borsler, but these guys have done a great job keeping in line to catch back up, and now we have a huge train, about, let's say 20-ish cars here leading the way. Well, not quite 20, 17 cars in that first group, and then it's a ways back to the second group that I'm keeping my eye on now, that's being led by Greg Evans in the 83, who has slowly worked his way up into the top 20. Whoa, behind him, the 73 of Holstein kind of got loose going through the tri-oval and down onto the apron. He had to check up, which allowed Alan Young to make the move. While the group right single file, the action's back here in the second group, Peter.
And one thing I was thinking about a little bit earlier, I didn't get to mention it, but whenever you're at a track like Talladega or Daytona and you're in the second group, that second group, that is the group that you usually think, okay, these drivers are just biding time. They're waiting for the big one to happen. They're going to not race each other hard. They're going to give each other room. No, that is not true. When you're in that second group, if you start to lose ground on that lead pack and the laps start to tick away, that second group gets chaotic. You get drivers bumping each other, banging each other down the backstretch, just trying to do everything they can to not lose more ground to the front pack. And that is when the second group causes accidents. I've seen it more often than not that when you have a race like this, everything's going well, it isn't the lead group that causes the accident, it's the second group that causes the accident. So we're going to have to keep an eye on that second group and see if that comes to fruition or not. But already things starting to get a little bit racy in that second group of cars. But there we see a couple of Will Borsler Racing machines getting together out there on the racetrack. They do have Tyler Seville in the number 11, the Green Slice Porcupines machine, kind of on the right side of the screen, just out of the picture now. There he is on the top of your screen. Now you see them starting to line up. Of course, the number... where did he go? Their teammate up the front. There he is, number 57 of Craig Sykes, right up there at the top of your screen, still leading the way with a little bit of help from James Lorello in the number 3. 4 Slice Porcupines machines, they're all up there in that lead group. How long will it be until we see all 4 of those cars lined up together as these laps tick away? But looking at things, we're now probably about, good solid 20 laps, 20 plus laps from the next round of green flag pit stops. But so far, clean and green all the way here at Talladega as we close in on the halfway distance, Greg.
And it's been a great race. And you mentioned earlier you were talking about when we were going to see the Will Worsler racing cars fall in line. They've been trying it through the course of the day. The problem is those 3 right there are in line, but the 4th one, he's up there leading, so he doesn't really want to sacrifice the lead to fall back in there with his teammates. If he's up there leading, if it's working, go for it by all means. So the 3 Will Worsler cars back in line here have fallen in line, and they are making their way through. Halfway point coming up here, like you said, looks like Alex Geesey has received a black flag, so problems continuing for the 77. Remember, we talked about him having the possible connection issues. Looks like they have worsened as we continue to lead the way. The outside lane currently being led by the lap car of Jason Stewart, who is the only car 1 lap down in this pack right now, as David Washington, the next car a lap down, is trying to catch on to the back of it. He's in one of the SERVPRO cars as he has lost the draft. He's got some damage also to the back of the 89 car. That might have been from what happened on pit road. So the number 1 trying to keep up, but just like that, some lap traffic lying ahead. And that is a product of having a shuffle on pit road and losing the main draft, and you're forced to go by yourself. Nick Gardner and Brandon Stokes. We saw Gardner up racing for the lead earlier. He just went a lap down.
Yep, and that number 38 machine is 1 lap down. Look at the number 9 machine trying to do all he can to block the number 1. Of course, this is the current battle for the lucky dog position between the number 1 of Jason Stewart and the number 9 of Brandon Stokes. And also, of course, Nick Gardner in the number 38 is in that battle as well. So that's kind of a battle within the battle. You see the number 9 starting to help that outside groove, currently led by the number 49 machine of Jake Douglas, trying to go for the race lead here coming out of turn number 4.
The outside lane is beginning to work up once again. We saw it earlier in the middle of that first run. The outside lane really seemed to get going. Here we go once again as Douglas, remember, what was it, about 10 laps before the pits, maybe less than that, he had that slide through turn 1, and we thought it was the big one. He has not only recovered, he led a few laps, including that last one. Stykes back out to the lead now with help from Lorello, but what a job by Jake Douglas to shake that off and get that out of his head, because that's the problem with Talladega, and honestly racing in general, but it's amplified here at Talladega. You have something like that happen, you spend so much time trying to calm yourself down, you wind up putting yourself in position to make another one. Jake Douglas did not do that to himself. He just kept on trucking, has gotten up, led a couple laps, and here he is running in 4th right now as the number 9 of Brandon Stokes is a lap down. He's leading the outside lane right now. Great job by Jake Douglas here tonight.
Absolutely. Well, we do have, the 9 and the 87, and here we go. Here's the wreck that will bring out the first caution. Saw the number 11 spinning. There's the number 9 of Stokes. We'll have to go back and see what happened here. Doesn't look like it's a huge accident. Looks like 4 or 5 cars involved. There's Danny Rogers going for a spin down there in the iRacing.com machine. Ooh, he kept it off the outside wall. Great job by Danny Rogers to keep that car off the outside wall to prevent any further damage. Looks like the number 9 of Stokes got the most out of it. We'll see what happened here. Remember, the number 9 machine was racing for the lucky dog. Jake Crable might have gotten involved. Here we go. In slow motion. Ooh, did the number 9 come up a little bit? I like to see that one from the helicopter cam, but you can see that number 9 go sliding through the inside groove, and then the number 11, not quite sure if the number 11 got a little bit of help from the 38 of Gardner, but he started to go around. He was able to keep it off the outside wall as well, so not a whole lot of damage out of this accident, but just enough to bring out a caution, which will bring our field back together. Oh, a little bit of net code in that one. A little bit of fictitious contact causing that accident. But that will put us under the first caution of the race. And Nick, did you think we'd make it just about to halfway before we had the first caution?
Yeah, well, I honestly thought that the caution would have actually been a little bit earlier, Peter, but it looks like that it's happening just right now at this point. And it wasn't such a big wreck. maybe we'll see the big one, of course. It should come later on. And this is definitely, I guess, a smaller to medium-sized wreck, Peter.
Yeah, a couple of cars did receive a significant amount of damage, including Brandon Stokes. Looks like a little bit of split strategy right now. Remember, this series does have a tire limit, so maybe some of these drivers are starting to think about that tire limit perhaps, and thinking, maybe I just want to save a little bit of set of tires or something for the end, but definitely a little bit of split strategy here with a lot of your leaders staying out, including Craig Stykes, James Lorello, Adam Jersky, Will Worsler staying out pretty much all the way back to the 10th position or so. So it looks like it's going to be 9 cars staying out there on the racetrack. Of course, this will be great for some of the drivers who had lost the draft, and now we'll be back with that lead pack. The second group of cars that we had been watching, they were not gaining on the leaders at all. They were about a second a lap slower, so that's going to be good for them as well. But while we have this caution flag, we'll sort things out for you here in just a moment. We're going to step away for a brief word from our sponsors here for the American Sim Racing Series.
Every day in business starts with a number. Output, productivity, efficiency, all measured in numbers, because data drives decisions. And if fire or water damage strikes, the numbers for your business can slow or even stop. Unless you know this one, 1-800-SERVPRO, the number one choice in commercial cleanup and restoration.
The most realistic online racing sim ever made. This is iRacing. Detailed laser scan tracks, fully dynamic real world cars, and over 50 series to choose from. 6 online world championships offering over $100,000 in annual prizes. This is the original esport racing game. This is iRacing.
Every day in life happens everywhere. Like it never even happened, only happens here. The cleanup and restoration specialists at 1-800-SERVPRO and SERVPRO.com.
All right, folks, welcome back to 3Wide TV, the number 57 machine. Craig Stykes has led a good portion of this race, still atop the leaderboard. There he is, followed by the number 3 machine. But let's see if we can talk to one of the drivers involved in this last accident. Let's see if we can talk to the number 87 of Jay Crable. Jay, Peter Short here in the 3Wide TV booth. You got a copy?
Hey guys, how's it going?
Pretty good. Well, we've seen the victory lane quick oil change up near the front for a good portion of this race, but definitely got a good portion of the outside retaining wall in that accident. Tell us a little bit about the damage on that car, and tell us a little bit about victory lane quick oil change.
Yeah, my spotter wasn't saying anything, so I started to come down a little bit. Out of the corner of my eye, I saw somebody, and then something happened up front, and I was just trying to check up, and it did, stuff happens so fast here, you can't do anything about it.
Yeah, definitely. Things do happen fast. Like you said, it can be hard to react. But I can't believe that wasn't a bigger accident. There was cars spinning everywhere. And it looks like you just got a little bit of the wall. How much damage did you have on pit road? Were you able to get it all repaired?
Yeah, I had 46 seconds of damage. We got it all fixed. I saw a little bit of right front. I don't know how my back end looks, but we'll give her the best shot we can. We were trying to run up front, see if we can stay in the top 5 and stay in front of the accidents, but we saw how that.
Yeah, always a gamble here at Talladega. It is the toughest race to call on the schedule. But you do have Victory Lane quick oil change, and maybe a trip to Victory Lane is still in order for that number 87 machine. Tell us a little bit about your sponsor.
Yeah, Victory Lane, quick oil change. They've got multiple locations throughout the U.S., mostly through Michigan and in Illinois, and a couple down in Texas in the south border. They're still open during all this, so if you need your oil change, make sure to check them out. And we got Glassdoor Brewing and Racing Warehouse we want to thank too. So,
all right, well, hopefully that damage doesn't affect that number 87 here all too much, and you can get it back up to the front where you've been for most of the day. Good luck.
thanks, guys.
All right, well, that was driver of the number 87 machine, of course, Jay Crable. We'll see if we can return him back to his channel. There he goes. And Greg, you know, damage is one of those things at Talladega. Usually, if you get a little bit of damage, usually that's the end of the race because this is such an aero-dependent racetrack with how fast it is.
Yeah, we've talked about it a couple of times throughout the course of the season, how dependent these Cup cars are at various tracks on aerodynamics. That is amplified on these giant 2.66 mile super speedways, Daytona and Talladega, where the draft is so important. That is amplified times who knows how many at this racetrack. So the slightest amount of damage can be drastic to your race, and that's just an example of it right there.
Absolutely. Let's see if we can go on board with one of these drivers kind of mid-pack, because there's something that I would like to talk to. Let's see if we can go on board perhaps with driver of the number 83 machine, Greg Evans. And folks, Greg Evans has worked his way up into the top 10. Let's see if we can jump on board with that number 83 machine right now. Well, getting word that we can't go on board with a car because we're not going green for about half a lap or something like that. So anyway, we're giving a little bit of sass to our producer. But you know, we are going back to green here, and be good to go back for our first restart of the race. It was the number 57 machine, Craig Stykes, who let us down for the start of the race in that Slice Porcupines machine. But what I wanted to talk about was the spoiler that these cars have. There's a little bit of a plexiglass panel in the spoiler, so you can actually kind of see through a little bit into the car ahead. And that's what these drivers are going to be looking at here on this replay. They're going to be looking as much as they can through that piece of plexiglass to see when the car in front of them goes, because that's what you want to do. You want to time your restart off the cars in front of you, because that is how you get the best restart, and restarts are oh so important. And here we go. The flagman has the green flag in hand, and he's waving it vigorously as we're back to green flag racing. The number 57 gets a good jump, but did he get too big of a jump there, Greg? He got a pretty big jump up the front, but everyone's left the number 3 machine high and dry of James Lorello out there.
It may have worked out for him, not just because everyone jumped down to the inside lane, but look who's in 3rd and 4th. That's another couple of the Will Worsler Racing entries behind the 71 of Jersky. So I think even if Jersky had gone to the high side with Lorello, Stykes would have been in okay shape right now, as the field has already settled down single file, about 10 back now, all the way back to the first side-by-side battle. Not something we see often. It usually takes them a couple laps to get settled down as much as they have already. Great job by everyone to settle down in the early stages of this run as Stykes continues to lead the way. Here comes Worsler peaking high, but I think he was too far ahead of his teammate Doug Mullins to get up there and make a charge at Jersky and Stykes. Look who's up in 5th, Greg Evans. We have not really been able to mention him a whole lot because he's been hanging out in the back. He has decided, you know what, it's go time. I'm going to ride in the top 5 now. Winner of all 3 of these special championship races, and he is now in good position to try to make it 4-4.
Yep, that number 83 machine of Greg Evans, of course, leading the SERVPRO Wheelman Showdown with 3 wins in the first 3 rounds of that championship within a championship. Of course, tonight is round 4. Can he go 4 for 4? We'll have to wait and see for the final 40 laps, as it is now 40 laps remaining here at Talladega. Of course, that doesn't take into account the possibility of green-white checker. They do have 3 attempts. In fact, I believe when we were at Richmond Raceway 1 week ago, I believe that was the first time since the inception of the green-white checker that we had all 3 attempts. And in fact, we didn't even get that. I don't even think we got back to the end of that race under green. I think it ended under caution. So that'll be the first time in the ASRS Hacksaw PC's Premier Series, at least this season. I'm trying to recall if it was if there was a race like that last year. I just don't think there was. So, anyway, hopefully that doesn't happen here tonight, and we can finish under the green flag. But the field's starting to sort out once again. There you see the number 81 machine. Haven't really talked about Shane Parrish here tonight, but he does have SERVPRO on the hood. Getting a little bit of help from a fellow Ford in the number 72 machine of Michael Krobach, the HPPSimulations.com machine. And guys, Michael Krobach was pretty much all by himself prior to this caution coming out. And look at this push he's given the number 81 machine, just like a cannon up to the front.
That's throwing back to the 2-car tandem. I was saying it right as our producer said it in our ear. It was like, hey, the 2-car tandems are back. Throw back to the old Car Tomorrow model from the early 2000s. That was an impressive showing there from the 72 of Krobach. But the problem with that, Peter, is your car heats up so quickly when you're in that position that Krobach was. We've already seen it once today with Jordan Harnish, that you can only push for just so much amount of time before you have to back off to let your engine cool off. And you saw it right there, and just like that, the rest of the outside lane was able to pull right back up to the outside on Krobach and Parrish, including the 5 of Eric Stanford. Whoa, contact, and we got problems behind him.
And Doug Mullins and the number 18 machine going around. Oh, there's Haggerty. Sam Crow in the back. Jake Douglas spinning out the racetrack. Ooh, I couldn't see who that was. Ooh, there's the 51 and Mitch Brown. This, folks, might be the big one here at Talladega. We'll have to see exactly what happened. Oh, the 55 machine of Yazik perhaps came down the racetrack, and it looks like the 3 machine might have been involved. That would have been Lorello. Good job by a good portion of the field for checking up. Looks like the 51 might have just spun around trying to avoid it, and it doesn't look like too much damage on that car. But Nicholas, let's see if you can see exactly what happened here on this replay. But it looked like the 55 machine came down.
Yeah, the 55 machine did come down and then just turned the 18 there.
You know, I'm wondering if he got a little bit of help from the 84 of Mahan, because he just shot down the racetrack so fast. I'm wondering if they just didn't hook bumpers very well, and it somewhat turned Yazik down into the 18.
That could be. I mean, I might have to... Yeah, I'm not really sure. Looking at it, it's possibly. But anyways, that might be the big one. It definitely was a big caution, big wreck. Yeah.
Absolutely. Big wreck here at Talladega, bringing out the second caution of the night. Looks like Greg Evans in the number 83 machine trying to get his 3rd win in a row. I believe he got a little piece of that in that machine. No, it looks like he got through okay. So, boy, oh boy. Accident here once again at Talladega, but we got a bunch of cars now headed down pit road led by Craig Stykes, your race leader, coming down in the 57 Slice Porcupines machine. On board here with Mitch Brown, and Mitch Brown he locked down the brakes, and sometimes that's what you got to do. You can see him trying to save it. These super speedway cars run so much rear brake with their brake package that that can happen. Oh man, Doug Mullins knew nothing of it. Just right, baby, right round. And that number 18 machine coming to a halt there, losing all that track position. He had a good run going. Craig Stykes will win the race off pit road in the number 57 machine, but we did have a couple cars stay out. Shane Parrish, Eric Stanford, Woody Mahan, David Washington, Nick Gardner, Cody Spiker all staying out. Looks like Gardner was 1 lap down. We'll see whether or not he gets the lucky dog. Getting word that the lucky dog should be Woody Mahan in the 84 machine, assuming he didn't have any contact in that. But I do believe we're going to step away here for just a brief moment and line up some more words from our sponsors here on 3Y TV.
Every day in business starts with a number. Output, productivity, efficiency, all measured in numbers, because data drives decisions. And if fire or water damage strikes, the numbers for your business can slow, or even stop. Unless you know this one, 1-800-SERVPRO, the #1 choice in commercial cleanup and restoration.
The most realistic online racing sim ever made. This is iRacing. Detailed laser scan tracks, fully dynamic real-world cars, and over 50 series to choose from. 6 online world championships offering over $100,000 in annual prizes. This is the original esport racing game. This is iRacing.
Life happens everywhere. Like it never even happened, only happens here. The cleanup and restoration specialists at 1-800-SERVPRO and SERVPRO.com.
All right, folks, welcome back to Talladega Super Speedway. The number 81 machine, Shane Parrish, has SERVPRO on the hood of that Ford Mustang, leading round 4 of the SERVPRO Wheelman Showdown here at the Talladega 250 miles, and we have just about a third of tonight's race left, 35 laps to go here at Talladega, and it's been a pretty interesting race. 2 cautions here tonight. We had green flag pit stops a little while ago, and now 2 cautions, back-to-back cautions, breeding cautions, and the lap counter ticking down, so the intensity ticks up. And Greg, I gotta say, that's pretty much what I expected to see here at Talladega, and especially out of these, Hacksaw PC's Premier Series drivers. They know how to run clean and green. They know how to do it. These are talented drivers. You don't get into this series without having a full-on vetting process, and that vetting process really brings the cream of the crop to this championship. And they know how to go clean and green, but I'll tell you what, as that lap counter drives down, just the pure adrenaline and intensity goes up.
That's the case with just about every race, but it's amplified here at Talladega. It seems like everything as far as racing goes is just amplified when you come to a track like Talladega or Daytona, the restricted plate tracks at the NASCAR Cup Series is hit in real life. They go up and the intensity is just amplified, and the longer the race goes, the more and more intense it gets, because drivers know that, hey, okay, now we're getting in position where we got us making our way to the front as we see the SERVPRO cars coming in for some pit stops.
And this is, I think, these drivers thinking about possibly the end of the race. They're coming down to top off with fuel here, thinking that, if we get possibly a green-white checker towards the end of the race, that they might be able to make it from here. Because remember, we already saw at the beginning of the race, we saw about a 38-lap run before these cars got to pit road under green flag conditions. Well, now they have a couple of extra laps of fuel in the tank if they get a green-white checker or something like that. But that is going to be really interesting to see here, guys. If we do go caution-free, whether or not some of these cars back here can save enough fuel to make it to the end from here.
So interesting strategy. We'll see how it all shakes down through the course of it. Notice Tyler Seville gets out in front of the SERVPRO cars there. So we'll see how this one goes, as Seville was able to beat them both off pit. Krobach will inherit the lead for the time being, and they're doubled up. So it looks like we are getting set to go back to green flag racing with Krobach and Stykes your front row. And Peter, as we go down the backstretch, look who Stykes has behind him now. He has his car owner Will Worsler lined up directly behind him, and I believe this is the first time today that Stikes, who's been the guy who's been running up at the front most of the race, has his team owner behind him.
Yeah, it will be interesting to see whether or not they can kind of get together for this restart and just kind of ride this one out. You mentioned it earlier that you can get a pretty darn good run come out of turn number 2, especially if you're locked together with another car. And so we'll have to see whether or not that holds true here again on this restart. But I'll tell you what, if there's one driver I want to have behind me on a restart, it's a teammate, let alone your team owner. So keep an eye on those two Will Worsler Racing machines here in this restart. You see one of the SERVPRO machines going around the outside back there. Not quite sure who that is. Looks like that might be David Washington and the number 89 machine, but they get things all sorted out here for this restart. 33 laps to go when we go back to green flag racing here at Talladega, round 4 of the SERVPRO Wheelman Showdown. If you're just now joining us here on the iRacing simulator, we ride on board with the number 29 Slice Porcupine's machine, and he did not get a good restart. He's going to watch Craig Stikes just disappear off into the distance. 3-car breakaway up at the front, led by the 72 of Krobach. Adam Drosky going to stay locked to the rear bumper of that number 72 machine. Craig Stikes is going to slide down in third, but there's about 4 or 5 cars between Craig Stikes and Will Worsler, and now we have to wait for that field to gather back up as the number 72 will lead. And I gotta mention, guys, caution is out. Caution is back in the air, and James Lorello in the number 3 machine and David Washington both turned around on the backstretch. Things going from bad to worse for that number 3 machine. Lorello's night was oh so promising not all too long ago. And, man, there, Woody Mahan in the 84 getting close, and Lorello going airborne in that number 3 machine.
Hard hit for Lorello there, straight head on into the inside wall. So definitely not the night that Lorello wanted. He was, like you mentioned, he was so strong in the early going up, contending for the lead at a couple of points in the race, and just some contact between Mahan and Washington, and there you see the end result in Lorello. Just the innocent bystander, and all of it gets the worst out of it.
Absolutely. A very, very tough break for those cars right there. But now we're under our 3rd caution flag. Cautions breeding. Cautions here. Here you go, on board with the number 3 machine of Lorello. Don't think he knew what was happening here when he got turned. There you see. Oh, man, that was a pretty hard bump that he got from the rear. And saying hello to the fans in the infield there. Getting a little bit of air underneath that number 3 machine, but that will be the end of his night, unfortunately, in that number 3 machine. No chance of getting to victory lane for Lorello, but as of right now, the number 72 machine, Michael Krobach, up there at the front. And folks, I did want to mention that Michael Krobach had a very short pit stop this last time by. I don't think he took any tires on the HPCsimulations.com Ford because he had a 6.3 second pit stops. Everyone else around him pretty much having 12 to 15 second pit stops. So a little bit of pit strategy by Michael Krobach to get himself up to the front here as these laps tick down. We do have a couple more cars coming down pit road to get a little bit of extra gas in those tanks, maybe fix a little bit of damage if they have the opportunity to do so. Just thinking about maybe not 1 attempt at a green-white checker, maybe not 2 attempts at a green-white checker, but maybe 3 attempts at a green-white checker. You can't have enough fuel at your 3rd green-white checker. You know, you always need a little bit extra in the tank, especially if we get that 3rd green-white checker, which is always a possibility here at a super speedway. But a lot of cars now rolling back up onto the racetrack from that pit road. But let's see if we can possibly talk to one of the drivers in this field. Let's see if we can dial up Will Worsler. I'm really curious to know what happened on that restart to Will Worsler. Did he spin the tires? Did he just not get going? Let's find out. Will Worsler, Peter Short in the 3-Wide TV booth. You got a copy?
What's going on, Peter?
Well, Man, that last restart just didn't look like you got going. What happened?
I was taking a nap. Kind of boring out here, man. You know, I got caught sleeping, I guess. I'm not used to them going before the green actually comes out at a plate track. It's usually not advantageous, and I just wasn't ready for it, to be honest.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you what, you probably learned maybe a little bit, though, for this restart. Of course, now you might not be exactly behind the 57 for this restart, but, you kind of maybe getting a feel for when Krobach is going to go when we go back to green flag racing here, which might be advantageous.
Yeah, it may be. We're really just going to kind of try to, we're going to have a good bit of this race left, provided no cautions come out, and still a good bit to go. We're going to try to be patient and get lined up and see what we can do at the end.
And how has the teamwork helped today? I know I've seen you running around with Doug in the number 18, Seville in the 11. They've both kind of had a little bit of trouble as of late. Now, really, the only other Will Wuerthler racing machine that's nice and clean is that man right in front of you. You thinking about that here in the closing laps?
If no more damage comes to any of the WWR cars, I think that we'll have a good night. So that's really kind of been our goal, is to stay out of trouble, keep our cars clean, and try to put ourselves in a position to do something at the end. And so far, it looks, it's looking good.
All right, well, we'll let you get back to it with your Will Wuerthler racing teammates, but best of luck there, Will.
I appreciate it, Peter. Thank you.
All right, well, that was the owner of Will Wuerthler Racing, Will Wuerthler in that number 29 machine. Let's see if we can possibly dial up someone else under this caution flag. Let's see if we can dial up the number 3 machine of James Lorello, recently involved in that accident. Let's see if we can get a quick word from him. Had a great night going. James Lorello, Peter Short up in the 3-wide TV booth. You got a copy?
I got you.
Well, man, not the finish you were hoping for here tonight in that number 3 machine. Had a great run going. Looks like maybe got a little bit of a nudge from the rear here in the closing laps. Tell us a little bit about your night and kind of what you expected out of tonight. A lot of drivers, this is one of those races that's like throwing a dice. You don't know what you're going to get. And just tell us a little bit about it.
Yeah, I was feeling hopeful after that first run that we had such a long green flag run, and I was just running up front, following whoever was in front of me, not trying to make any moves, and that was the goal, just to be there at the end, get some green flag pit stops and hang in. But I only had about 50 seconds of damage there from that last run, but then this last one took me out. So it is kind of a crapshoot, but hopefully next week, Dover, we can turn it around. But I was hoping for something a little bit better than what we got tonight.
Well, Dover is one of those racetracks. It's really a driver's racetrack. It's kind of a complete opposite from Talladega. Very slick racetrack. Got to manage your tires. You got to manage your throttle inputs and all that jazz. Everything that comes with driving a difficult racetrack. Do you look forward to Dover? Is that one of your favorite tracks on the schedules? Do you like those drivers type racetracks where the driver's skill really comes to the forefront?
Yeah, those are really my favorite tracks. I'm hoping that I can keep up with some of these guys at Dover and get a long green flag run. That's where I feel like I'll be strong and saving some tires. If I could do that, I feel like I could hopefully turn around next week. It's been 2 rough weeks in a row, but hopefully we can get into something a little better, a little more driver track, and that'll be helpful.
Well, I'll tell you what, James, it isn't for lack of talent. You've definitely shown here in the Hacksaw PC's Premier Series this year that you have the opportunity to get up to the front and definitely show some muscle. You're up there in points. No, tough night here tonight. Not the result you were looking for back at Richmond, but you're good at Richmond. You were fast here tonight. Hopefully things can go your way in 1 week's time. The Dirty Bird Sim Racing Dover 150.
Thanks. Long season. Hopefully we can get the bad luck out of here.
Absolutely. Better to get that bad luck out of the way. But, James, we'll let you go, and we'll see you next week.
Thanks, guys. Have a good one.
All right. Well, we are now 1-2 green as your race leader, Michael Krobach. Just a little bit of connection issue there. So hopefully that goes away for him. But he does have Adam Jersky in the beef. Jersky's Cheesecakes number 71 machine to his outside. Let's kind of set the field for you here on the restart. Got the number 72, the number 71, like I said, and Craig Sykes and Will Worcester will make up row number 2. Tony Schoen in the number 33 machine. If you have ever run Indy cars in iRacing, if you run a lot of them, you've probably seen Tony Schoen's name. He's right there in the number 33 machine in 5th. Ethan Adams in the number 88 machine is in 6th. Greg Evans, Jonathan Holstein, Michael Whiting, and Sam Crow rounding out your top 10 for this restart. And what about the number 19 machine, Cody Spiker? He was all but one lap down earlier in this race. Now he's sitting in the 12th position in the Snap-on number 19 machine. Great to see that rebound by him. Sam Crow started shotgun on the field here tonight in the 02 machine. Of course, he's teammate to the number 83 machine of Greg Evans. What can he do in the closing laps? They are running 7th and 10th. Can they pair up and work as a team to get to the front? But the pace car now going to head down pit road. All these cars coming down at 70 miles an hour, just waiting for the flagman to throw the green flag. And we will be back to green flag racing for 28 remaining laps, plus the possibility of green-white checker. Hopefully don't have any more cautions from here on out, and it just be absolutely crazy finish here in the closing laps. Green flag back in the air here at Talladega. And Nicholas, everyone got a pretty good start up there at the front.
Oh yeah, definitely up at the front here. It looks like on the outside, I believe that is the number 71 doesn't have any takers yet, falling back as the inside line is just pushing, passing up the 71 as he hopes to get some guys working with him.
Here we go on board with Will Worcester, now right behind the number 57 of Craig Stykes, underneath the number 71 of Adam Jersky. What will these two Will Worcester racing machines do? Will they wait to make a move? Will they be patient, or will they pounce on the number 72 of Michael Krobach, as we will have 27 more laps around this 2.66 mile famed super speedway? Of course, everyone thinks about Talladega and the fact that this is the longest racetrack on NASCAR's schedule. It's kind of held that now for many, many years. Wasn't always the longest racetrack or the longest oval in NASCAR back before its inception. Of course, it was tracks like Daytona, but Talladega, pretty much ever since it got on the schedule, it has been the longest oval. You know, there are road courses that are longer, that is true, but really Talladega is sitting all by itself up there at 2.66 miles, just 1.16 miles longer than Daytona, which we started the season at for the Glassdoor Brewing 250, but great showing here by Tony Schoen in that number 33 machine, as he has now got himself up into 4th position here. Greg?
Yeah, he's doing a great job from the 38th starting position. Just really has been patient. We haven't mentioned his name a whole lot prior to this. That's because he's been hanging back, taking it easy, and just making sure he didn't make any mistakes. And here he is, running in the 4th spot. You can't really ask for a better guy to have in your rearview mirror right now. Greg Evans is probably the hottest driver in the series right now. And just as I say that, Evans realizes that the outside lane seems to be making a move with Tyler Seville, Mitch Brown, and others leading the charge up there. So Evans says, hey, I'm going to take my shot at it now and see if I can't get a run on the outside and get up to the front here. Looks like Will Worcester and Craig Stykes might be making a move on Krobach. They do, as they come into the tri-oval. Stykes to the outside, Worcester right behind him. And notice, though, how quickly Evans and company was able to get up there to the back bumper of Worcester with the 2-car breakaway. The Will Worcester car is able to get up and take the lead back. Stykes leading Worcester 2nd. Krobach and Evans in 3rd. Great move there by Tyler Seville to duck down to the bottom. Risky move there by Krobach to go up there and pick up Evans, because that now allows the Will Worcester cars to line up 1, 2, 3 on the inside.
I'll tell you what. Right now we have 3 cars lined up on the bottom. Will Worcester racing cars right down there. The field led by Craig Stykes, Will Worcester in the number 29, and Tyler Seville in the 11. Those 3 cars right down there on the bottom. They're going to be a tough nut to crack in the closing laps if they can stay lined up together. But here comes Michael Krobach, got help from the number 83 of Greg Evans. We have seen Evans be oh so fast here in the circuit over the last few weeks. Right there. You're going to see him enter your picture here. Right there. There's the nose of the number 83, giving a bump draft to Michael Krobach down the backstretch. Krobach not quite able to clear the number 57 of Sykes going off into turn number 3, but things really starting to heat up. All these drivers have learned throughout the race what they can and can't do. And what about Mitch Brown in the number 51 machine? He was turned around pretty much getting to pit road. Got a little bit of rear end damage when we had the green flag pit stops. Here we go on board with the roof cam on that number 51 machine, looking out front at Greg Evans' machine. Great recovery for this man right here in the 51. Of course, he is the reigning Hacksaw PC's Premier Series champion, and really showing why here tonight. Able to bounce back from a lot of adversity, and now that inside groove, though, starting to get a little bit more hooked up. Craig Stykes putting a nose out front with a little bit of help from his teammate, the number 29, Will Worcester, Greg.
So we'll see how the Will Worcester teammates cooperate now that they are finally lined up 1, 2, 3 on the inside. Doug Mullins, the fourth Will Worcester car, kind of buried near the back of the pack right now as far as this top draft goes. But look at the outside lane, or the outside lane as my hand slipped off my hotkey there. Michael Krobach able to get in front outside, but here comes Greg Evans peeking high. Krobach does a good job to throw a block there to pick up Greg Evans. Not really throwing a block per se, I should rephrase, but more or less just being like, I'm going to stick with you right now as the drag race continues down the backstretch between Stykes and Krobach. And look at Worcester able to get right up on the back bumper there of Stykes and was able to get Stykes back up to the lead by himself as it's a side-by-side battle for second. One of the SERVPRO cars, the only cars on the extreme outside right now, so he's getting shuffled all the way to the back as the two Worcester cars in the front begin to break away. Tyler Seville now trying to hang with them on the inside.
Yeah, we were looking at the nose of the number 29 Slice Porcupines machine of Will Worcester, looking out back of Craig Stykes. I'll tell you though, the bookend on this group, this pack that we have going around the racetrack right now, is actually your current points leader. John Jenkins in the number 7 machine is running in the 26th position, as you see a couple of the slower lapped cars, the number 6 and the 41 up there of Jared Haggerty and Tim Knott, respectively. But there is the bookend of this lead draft, the number 7 machine, John Jenkins. And that number 7 machine, he's been riding back there at the back of the lead pack for a good majority of this race. I think he's still just waiting. He still knows there's 21 more laps to go. No point putting your car in a bad position here with 20 laps to go now. Just wait it out. Be patient. Make your move there in the final 10 laps. Try and work your way up to the front. We saw cars rocket through the field at the beginning of the race, go from the 30th position or so all the way up to the top 10 in a matter of laps. It can happen here, but it's going to get more difficult as these laps go down, and there's always the possibility of the big one when you see a 27 car pack like this one is right here with now under 20 laps to go this time by. And Nicholas, this is the time when we start to see some pretty epic moves here around this racetrack.
Oh, for sure, Peter. 20 laps to go. I give it a few more laps, and then it's going to start getting pretty hectic. And a lot of guys going to be making moves for the lead. And, of course, hopefully, well, they're hoping that they'd come home with a win. A lot of aggressive moves are ready to be made here in just a little bit, Peter.
I know one person here at Talladega like to say, if you ain't first, you're last. Well, that is what is in a lot of these drivers' heads right now. And you see 2 wide here. I'm expecting to see some 3 wide action. We saw it earlier in the race. We saw that it could actually work. We saw a couple of drivers actually make 3 wide passes to get up to the front and take the race lead. So I am expecting to see it, just not quite yet, as you're starting to see maybe a little bit of 3 wide, a little bit further back in the pack. People starting to get maybe a little bit antsy. It's kind of like a horse race, you know, when you watch all those jockeys out there and you're watching the horses get a little bit antsy when they're all kind of boxed in and claustrophobic. Same thing happens here at Talladega. You get drivers start to look out, try to change lanes. Sometimes they can't. You're completely stuck. It gets frustrating. You get a little bit impatient. and then sometimes it just, the door opens for you and you make the move. So it is throwing the dice here around Talladega as these laps continue to wind down and the sun continues to set. In fact, that is one thing that I've been noticing. It's 4:39 local time in the sim, and the sun is starting to set. So this racetrack will now have the most grip that it will have all race long, because the track temperature is dropping. Current track temperature is now down to 87 degrees Fahrenheit, which is about where it started at the beginning of the race, actually. But we have all these cars running out there, which adds friction to the racetrack. So the racetrack does kind of heat up from when it was at the beginning of the race. Now it's back down to 87 degrees Fahrenheit. But this field is actually catching up to some lap traffic as we're starting to go 3 wide. Well, it's interesting to see how this lap traffic affects this 3 wide, as you see that outside groove led by the number 1 machine. Of course, that is driven by Jason Stewart, and Jason was 1 lap down earlier in this race, now trying to get up into the top 10, Greg.
Yeah, he was a lap down. I've been keeping a close eye on him through this run. Once I realized that, hey, he is back in the lead lap, and he's really doing a good job having that outside lane work for him right now. With only 1 car behind him, Eric Stanford in the 85. He lost a little bit of momentum there, though, as they had to check up for the lap car and another one up ahead of them. And Stanford's actually going to drop in behind another car in the middle lane there. Wow, Stewart had to take evasive action there to get around, I believe, the 49 of Douglas to dodge it, and he will fall in line now also behind the 65 of Travis McDaniel. Stanford there with him. As well, the 18 of Doug Mullins, the 4th Will Worsler entry, who has been up near the front a couple of times, but has really been mired back in the pack for most of the race, Peter, in that number 18 car. So with it getting down to crunch time here, we're working lap 80 of 94. What do you think Doug Mullins, per se, in the 18 is going to have to do to get back up to his teammates? He was scored 16th that last time by.
I really think he's going to have to try using that 3rd groove. I don't see many drivers trying it, but there aren't many drivers, teammates who are locked together like those 3 Will Worsler Racing machines up at the front. I think you're going to definitely need a little bit of help, a little bit of co-opetition. That's one of my favorite terms that Darrell Waltrip coined back in the day. A little bit of co-opetition out there on the outside line. But that's, I think, the only way you're going to be able to make a pass without a couple of cars in front of you start to really shuffle. You're going to pick up a couple spots there, but man, if you're going to want to go for this win, you're going to have to learn what that high line, that 3rd groove can do. As you start to see the field still catching some lap traffic. That's Jimmy McKee in the number 8 machine and one of the SERVPRO machines. That is driven by Shane Parrish. Not a lot of damage on that number 81 of Shane Parrish. He just didn't catch up to the field for this last restart, and he will go 1 lap down as the field goes racing by him down on the inside, of course led by Craig Stykes in that number 57 machine. Thoroughly led the most laps here today in that, almost a little bit of contact with the number 29 and the 72. But Stykes has led a lot of laps, going back to what I was saying. And, it would be our absolute heartbreak if he didn't come away with the checkered flag with how many laps he's led. But it is Talladega. Heartbreak happens here in the heartland of the United States. And coming around out of turn number 2, things getting a little bit dicey once again back in the pack. This is going to be an interesting finish here, guys. And I'm not quite sure if someone can get around that number 57 machine, because Sykes has just been so strong all day long. Nicholas, what do you think? Do you think someone's going to come from the pack, the back of the pack, and take this checkered flag? Or do you think that number 57 is just going to stay out there and lead the way for the rest of this race?
Oh, wow. Well, I would say that you could definitely expect some people from the back of the pack make their way up with coming in with just almost 10 laps to go, as we're here 12 to go. But yeah, definitely could see some people coming from the back of the pack all the way up to the front to take the checkered flag. And got one going down the apron.
Yeah, sorry to interrupt there. That was the number 34 of Kelsey Rogers back there. had a little bit of contact with driver of the number 50, Christopher Bouchard. Let's see this. They're down the backstretch right here, and it gets really tight. Just a little bit of a nudge to the right rear. Fantastic save out of Kelsey Rogers to get that car down there on the apron and back up onto the racetrack and not lose a significant amount of track position. He's now down in the 18th position, so still inside the top 20 as well. Cody Spiker in the number 19 machine got a little bit sideways going off into turn number 1. These race cars all of a sudden starting to get a little bit tail happy out there. So that's when you know things are definitely starting to heat up here at Talladega. The field's still bookended by the number 7 of John Jenkins, at least this lead pack. Sam Crow in the 02 machine has lost the lead group, unfortunately, with a lot of front end damage in the 02 machine. So 25 car lead pack plus the number 81 machine of Shane Parrish, who finds himself 1 lap down, but he is helping his teammate, the 85 of Eric Stanford, on the high groove, the 3rd groove up there. So a couple of SERVPRO cars kind of working together, but that 3rd groove is led by this man right here, the number 51 machine, your reigning series champion of Mitch Brown, trying to get a run coming out of turn number 2, does so. You see that momentum come to the forefront here. Getting a little bit of help from the number 27 machine, Pete Baskins. Great run by Pete here in these closing laps. But boy, oh boy, 9 laps to go this time by. And Greg, do you have a pick for who's going to win out of this bunch of cars?
That would be us, the fans watching, and us broadcasters. We're the big winners here tonight. As far as who's going to win on the track, couldn't tell you.
I think the odds on a lot of these cars right now, just all over the place. I mean, there's no good way to call it. Craig Stykes, though, out front with help from his 3 Will Worcester Racing teammates right behind him. He is definitely in the best spot for now, but look at that 2nd groove, getting a little bit of help. The 72 of Crowbot pulling level with Stykes here going off into turn number 3. Big help from the number 83 of Evans, trying to get himself back up to the front. Can we see Greg Evans go to victory lane and go 3 for 3 in the last 4 weeks here in the Hacksaw PC's Premier Series? Trying to get his 4th win in the SERVPRO Wheelman Showdown as well. That number 83 machine. What a year it has been for Greg Evans, and we're not even to the halfway mark in the 2020 Hacksaw PC's Premier Series, as there is the number 53 Broussard going down another lap. He was already down a lap in that car, unfortunately, with a lot of damage, and caution flag is out. I see a cone flying. That's not good news, and Danny Rogers in the number 95 machine has gone around. And inside 10 laps to go, it looks like a single car accident. We'll see exactly what happened here. Ooh, oh man, the number 50 there also involved. The number 50, of course, driven by Bouchard, Christopher Bouchard. I think that was the lapped car. I couldn't quite see who it was. It was the 53 of Broussard that they were trying to go around, and I think they were 3 wide, and so Bouchard tried to come down the racetrack and make it 4 wide, but Danny Rogers was there, and that contact initiated that spin. Look at the number 7 there, John Jenkins sneaking through those 2 spinning race cars. But now we're going to have a caution. We're going to have not quite a green-white checker. I think we'll go back to green probably with 3 or 4 laps to go. But boy, oh boy, this is going to be an exciting finish. So get up off your seats for this one here in just a couple laps. If you're in the chat, want to hear from you. I want to hear, who do you think's going to walk away with the checkered flag here tonight? Who are you rooting for here in the closing laps? Or are you just here for a good show? I think it's going to be a pretty darn good finish. We're going to step away here for just a brief commercial break. Possibly the last one of the night until we get to the checkered flag, but we'll hear from our sponsors, and we'll be right back.
Life happens everywhere. Like it never even happened, only happens here. The cleanup and restoration specialists at 1-800-SERVPRO and SERVPRO.com.
the most realistic online racing sim ever made. This is iRacing. Detailed laser scan tracks, fully dynamic real world cars, and over 50 series to choose from. 6 online world championships offering over $100,000 in annual prizes. This is the original esport racing game. This is iRacing.
Every day in business starts with a number. Output, productivity, efficiency, all measured in numbers, because data drives decisions. And if fire or water damage strikes, the numbers for your business can slow or even stop. Unless you know this one, 1-800-SERVPRO, the #1 choice in commercial cleanup and restoration.
All right, folks, welcome back to Talladega Super Speedway as the laps are winding down. Going to have 5 laps to go this time, but unfortunately the pace truck lights are still on here as the field is led by that chrome-nosed Chevy Silverado here at 70 miles an hour around the racetrack. In a couple laps time, will be hopefully upwards of 200 miles an hour here, going through turns number 3 and 4 onwards to the checkered flag. Got to give a shout out to some of the people in the chat. We got Fast Koozie rooting on, Michael Crowbox, Zach Myers saying, let's go, this is going to be an exciting finish, and Fat Dog Racing rooting on his teammates, of course, Greg Evans and Sam Crow and Van Verellis as well. Unfortunately, hasn't quite been the night that John Van Verellis had been hoping for in that number 78 machine. Got a little bit of damage, but he is on the lead lap in the Stavros Pizza House machine, back there in the 21st position. Clarence Bonner said would have been nice to race. Tough break there, buddy. And Richard Fletcher saying gonna be loud. All right, well, let's see how loud you can be, Mr. Fletcher, here in the closing laps. We'll crank it up here for the finish, and we'll probably bring out the kazoo. But now that things have, they've sorted out, we're going to have to re-rack the field, go again for what looks to be 3 laps, because the pace truck lights have stayed on here. So it's going to be at least 2 more laps of pacing for all of these drivers. And I'll tell you what, Greg, if I'm one of these drivers, got butterflies in my stomach, I don't know what these last few laps are going to hold. I don't know if we're going to get a green-white checker. It's going to be crazy.
Yeah, if I'm in one of these cars up near the front, my heart's beating up in my throat right now. This is the time at Talladega where the excitement is amplified to about level 15 out of 10, because it's the final laps, shootout coming. How many times have we seen a race at Talladega decided in the last couple hundred feet of this 2.66 mile track? So this is going to be just another classic Talladega finish coming up here. Craig Stykes, been the dominant car all day, been up near the front the entire race, but he's got his car owner Will Worsler behind, or to his outside when he starts. This is going to be interesting to see how these guys all make it work here.
Absolutely. It will be an interesting finish. And, you know, now that the Will Worsler racing machines are actually going to be broken up a little bit, because look at how they are here under pacing. You got Craig Stykes, who will lead the field back to green, but to his outside will be the number 29 of Will Worsler. And then another couple cars back will be the number 11 of Tyler Seville. That is ultimately going to put the 2 Will Worsler racing machines side by side up the front. What's going to happen here, folks, is they're in the same channel here on the Discord that we got, and the number 57 right there, he's going to probably time this restart. And he's going to say, he's going to count down 3, 2, 1, let's go. That's going to give the 29 a cue on when to put the throttle down. And personally, what I think is going to have happen here is the 29 is going to jump in behind Stykes. At least that's the way it would work in my team. Will Worsler Racing, those guys At this point in the race, they might say all bets are off. You do you, get to the end. If you win the race, you win the race, whatever. But I think that in order for one of those Will Wurster Racing machines to get to victory lane, they're going to have to work together because the field has been watching what they've been doing. And because the field has been watching what they've been doing, they kind of know, hey, they're going to work together. So the only way to get to victory lane is to break them up. And if you can break them up, it's divide and conquer. That's how you're going to beat the Will Wurster Racing team here tonight. You got to divide them and you got to conquer them. This gives the field an opportunity to do that. We'll see how it all plays out here as pace truck lights are off. We're going to get set to go back to green flag racing, hopefully for the final time. We'll see whether or not the big one will happen. There's still a whole slew of cars left in this field to wad up, so we'll have to keep an eye on that. Nicholas, any thoughts here? Do you think we're going to see the big one here? Do you think we're going to see a green-white checker? And if so, how many?
Well, I think we're at least going to get one green-white checkered, for sure. Like, I think that everyone's going to be aggressive, fighting for the win, of course. It's Talladega, and you're going to see the big one. Probably going to happen at a green-white checkered here. I wouldn't doubt it. But how many? I mean, hopefully just one. Hopefully we can end this with a great show, and hopefully just not be a wreck fest for the last many laps, because, I mean, I don't want to wait through all these caution laps, really. They take way too long here at Dega, so maybe just one green-white checkered, and hopefully that'll be it.
Last few comments from the chat here before we go back to green flag racing. Timothy also saying, let's go, Tyler. Zach Myers saying, every man for him, or every man for myself now. And I'll tell you what, I got to say, if I'm one of those drivers down there right now, it's all about me here in the closing laps because I want to go to victory lane here. It's been a long race, 250 miles. Let's see the conclusion of this one as the pace truck has headed down pit road. We'll wait for the race leader. Now, unlike iRacing where they have to wait for the restart zone, once the pace truck is on pit road, they can pretty much hit the throttle whenever they want to. So Craig Stykes still having going down at 70 miles an hour. And there he goes, puts the pedal to the metal, and here comes Will Wurster. Wurster wasn't able to time it very well, so Krobach was able to get his nose underneath the 29 machine. And look at Stykes. Stykes moved up to help his teammate a little bit, and that pulled Wurster back up to his back bumper. So now that we did get the two Will Wurster Racing teammates together, how long will it be until they start to battle one another? Here comes Krobach. Krobach jumps to the outside. That's allowed all of the three Will Wurster Racing machines to pair up once again. And Greg, that's going to be almost insurmountable to break through.
We'll see if anybody can make it work on the outside. Remember, the outside has the momentum on corner exit, much like your standard track. But as they come off turn 3 and 4, Seville lost touch with Wurster just a little bit as Evans and Krobach try to creep back up on the outside. They link back up. They've got a little bit of momentum. Wait, they're coming down 2 to go. I'm sorry, lost track of laps there. But here we go into turn number 2. And look at the run Krobach has on the outside. Getting a run on the outside there with Evans. Got up to the door of Stykes. Wasn't able to get there. Stykes and Wurster able to clear. The Wurster teammates seem to be in line right now, but they got their work cut out for them. They've got to fend off the challenge of Krobach, Evans, and the cast behind them.
And that outside line starting to get formed up nice and neatly here. The inside groove kind of broken up just a little bit. You do have Craig Stykes leading over Will Wurster and Tyler Seville, but then there's about a car length or so back to Tony Schoen in the number 33 machine. If that outside groove can just get all lined up nose to tail, they might be able to get to the checkered flag first because the white flag is, oh, here comes the big one. Perhaps they all get it sorted out. Boy, oh boy, as I say that, there goes the field. But now we'll look at that after the race, but we have a 3-car battle for the checkered flag here because Krobach has gotten himself ahead of the number 72. The number 57 machine. Everything going crazy here on the final lap. Krobach in position to take the HPCsimulations.com forward to victory lane. Greg Evans dropping back just a little bit. What can Evans do? Can Evans pull a slingshot here? Stykes is making a move around the outside, Greg. They're going to be side by side right to the line.
Stykes with a run on the outside. Krobach inside. Here comes Evans to the outside. Stykes got it. Craig Stykes got him at the line.
Craig Stykes pulled the move by 8/1000ths of a second. The number 57 is going to victory lane here at Talladega. As you see the whole field come across the start-finish line, you can see that field was not much of a pack at the end of this race. That last lap accident, boy, in all this excitement, just overwhelmed. But Craig Stykes led so much of this race as the Kazoos go wild here. And he's going to get to go to victory lane. Well-earned victory by that man right there. Pulled off a crazy move on the last lap to get back to the race lead. I really thought Krobach was going to have that, but 8/1000ths of a second. Fantastic job, Mr. Stykes. Burn it down here on the front stretch. I'm sure his teammates won't be all too happy where they finish. Will Worcester coming across the line unofficially 24th. Doug Mullins 27th. And the number 11 machine of Tyler Seville, he came home with the top 5. So 2 Will Worcester Racing machines in the top 5. And Greg Evans coming home in 3rd. His win streak has come to an end. The SERVPRO Wheelman Showdown victory streak has come to an end, but now he has a top 3 streak, so not terrible for Mr. Greg Evans coming in 3rd. And Cody Spiker, what a recovery for that man in the number 19 machine. What a crazy finish. We're going to line up a replay for that finish for you here in just a moment, but we'll watch number 57 burn it down. Have a quick word from our sponsors here on 3Y TV, and we'll replay and see exactly what happened because cars were flying into the catch fence. We'll be right back.
Life happens everywhere. Like it never even happened, only happens here. The cleanup and restoration specialists at 1-800-SERVPRO and SERVPRO.com.
The most realistic online racing sim ever made. This is iRacing. Detailed laser scan tracks, fully dynamic real-world cars, and over 50 series to choose from. 6 online world championships offering over $100,000 in annual prizes. This is the original esport racing game. This is iRacing.
All right, folks, welcome back to Talladega Super Speedway. Crazy finish, and this is what happened on the last lap. The number 29 machine, Will Worcester, just slightly off center with Craig Stykes. Gave him a little bit of a nudge, and when he gave him that nudge, the number 57 actually broke loose and had to check up. And when that happened, the 29 then got a little bit of contact from the rear with the number 11 machine, his other teammate, Tyler Seville, and it was on from there. Surprisingly, the number 57, who also had to check up and made a fantastic save, went on to win the race. But back behind, carnage ensued, and my oh my, cars flipping everywhere. Cars just not lifting. I mean, it's the last lap of the race, trying to get all they can do, Days of Thunder style. Watch this. This is out back of the number 57. There's the save that Stykes had to make I mean, that save not only saved the car from going into the wall, it gave him the opportunity to recover and take the checkered flag. So give even more credit to the number 57 machine of Craig Stykes, because that is a very, very impressive save to make, going 197 miles an hour. And here is the finish. Look at how close this is. 8/1000ths of a second between the number 57 and the HPCsimulation.com of Michael Krobach. Krobach coming so close to getting to go to victory lane here in the Hacksaw PC's Premier Series. Now look at Greg Evans. Evans decided to make it interesting right there at the end, going up high, trying to make it 3 wide for the fans here at Talladega. And the fans got an absolute show here tonight for this finish. Here we go at the stripe. Look how close this is, folks, between the number 57 and the 72. You could barely put a football length in between where the nose of the number 57 and the nose of the 72 was as they crossed the stripe. Very, very good finish. But I do believe we do have some post-race interviews lined up for you, your top 3 finishers. The number 83, the number 72, and the number 57. And let's see if we can dial up last week's race winner and third place finisher here tonight, the number 83 of Greg Evans, here in just a second. As you see the field coming across the start finish line, I believe that was Travis McDaniel there crabbing across the line in that car. But boy, oh boy, lots of beaten up race cars right there at the back of the field. Some of those cars just barely like a snail getting on by. But let's see if we can dial up Mr. Greg Evans. And here he is. Okay, Greg Evans got a little bit of a hot mic there in that number 83 machine. A great new paint scheme on that car here this week. And I'll tell you what, you told us last week you weren't super excited about coming to Talladega, but you played your cards right, coming away with a third place finish. Very, very respectable. Of course, always coming to a little bit of a crapshoot this racetrack. But tell us a little bit about your night and the paint scheme that you have on it this week.
Yeah, definitely. We worked out a deal with iRacing iFlag for this week, and we're going to have it on there for a couple more weeks, periodically throughout the season. But like I said last week, I was talking with some friends. I was like, I think I just want to ride in the back for a while. That's kind of what we did for until the first pit stop. Then we had some trouble coming down pit road. Got just a slight amount of damage on the first pit stop. Was able to fix it though. Came back out and still kind of rode for a while. Got lucky with some cautions and was able to get our way back up there. And then I was trying to make up my mind if I wanted to drop back to the rear or just kind of stay up there. And I kind of was looking to see who was around, how they're going to race for a while, and everything kind of sorted out to where I was able to stay up there and get a good finish tonight.
It was a fantastic finish and a crazy finish with you just kind of poking your nose out there on that last corner there going through the tri-oval, trying to possibly sneak away with a win. Tell us a little bit about that final lap and what was kind of going through your head when all of a sudden chaos ensued behind you.
Yeah, it was going into one, and I was kind of watching Will on my inside. I knew I could push Krobach throughout the last lap, so I was ready to get glued to his bumper, but then I seen them slip up or something happen, and I was waiting to get doored, but it just barely happened right behind me, so we got a little lucky there. But after that, it was just kind of 3 guys all in it for themselves there at the end. So I was trying to get a run, but Krobach could pull down in front of Stykes, and I was just trying to get a draft off of those 2 guys. Didn't really have much of a chance of getting first or second, so I figured I'd make it interesting and try to swing out there at the end to see if anything happened. I was hoping those guys would get together, but both of those guys are really good racers, and you get to see Craig win and get to see Michael up front and finish second.
Absolutely. Great run for that car here tonight. And, of course, tonight was another one of those SERVPRO Wheelman Showdowns. So first, and third. Pretty good way to start off that championship within a championship. Of course, now starting to move your way up through the point standings as well. Even with missing a race, you're well inside the top 10 and starting to make some inroads on possibly the points leader. I know that is the number 7 coming in tonight, and I'm sure he'll leave with the points lead as well. But, it's a long season, a lot more races ahead of us. We got Dover next week on the championship side of things. And what are your thoughts about Dover?
I'm actually really looking forward to Dover. It's more of a driver's track where you've got to get in a rhythm and be really smooth. So we're looking forward to that. It'll kind of race like Richmond, because you got to. Richmond was so loose coming off the corners, you couldn't really race hard. So I kind of have a feeling Dover will kind of be the same way. So like I said, we are looking forward to that one. And like I said, with Talladega, I think this is the first race that I actually recognized or realized it was a Wheelman Showdown race. So I was like, I'm happy with the top 5. We can finish there. So like I said, just a really good, solid night for us tonight, and we'll be looking forward to Dover and see what we can do up there.
All right. Well, best of luck next week. I know it's a driver's racetrack. A lot of people like going there just because it can show off some talent. So best of luck there next week.
Thank you, guys. I got to thank my sponsors, iRacing, iFlag, Sure Take Duct Tape, T-Rex Tape, I Can't Design, Carolina Sim Works, my buddies at Steel Horse Racing, Sam Crow and John Varelis. They kind of kept me calm up there this morning, or this evening, and just had a good night. And thank you guys again for broadcasting it. You guys doing an awesome job, and it's fun to go back and watch it with your friends and have your sponsors text you and about the races and stuff. So we really appreciate it.
Absolutely. It's a lot of fun, and you guys put on a good show, and you did so again here tonight. Best of luck this week.
Thank you, guys.
All right. Well, that was your third place finisher here tonight, Greg Evans. That man right there with iRacing iFlag on the hood. But let's see if Mr. Greg Rentz can bring up the second place finisher here tonight. Oh, so close to getting the win, Michael Krobach.
Yeah, Michael Krobach, Greg Rentz, 3YTV. You got a copy?
I do, Greg. How are you?
I'm doing well, and man, that was quite the finish between you and Craig Stykes, a drag race to the end.
Yeah, it was an awesome run there for the number 72 HPP Simulation Ford. I didn't know what to do on that last lap. I mean, I saw the field wrecking in my mirror, and I knew I didn't want him through 3 and 4 and coming off the corner, because I knew that Craig would get a great run on the top. So I tried to kind of run middle and tried to throw a little bit of a block, but then I saw his nose poking out, and I didn't want to, have a Ryan Newman-esque type of wreck there. Just wanted to bring it home at the end and hope the 83 car would stick with me, and it didn't work out that way, but great finish. Hopefully it put on a good show for the fans.
And Michael, talk to us about the course of the race there, because we saw you up near the front. You were making the outside lane work periodically throughout the day, but tell us about the end there when you were leading the charge on the outside with all 3 of the Will Worsler cars right there alongside you, 1, 2, 3 on the inside. Tell the guys at home how hard that is when you've got 3 teammates lined up alongside you and you're trying to make things work on the outside there.
Oh, yeah, it's super tough. I mean, I had the 83 behind me. We were kind of had a plan to stick with each other to the end there. And, with the Will Worsler guys together, they were running flawlessly on the bottom. And I wanted to just get the top. I felt the top would always have the run off the corner. I wanted to keep the 83 close enough to me, but not too close that he'd blow up, and kind of keep the guys on the bottom pinned down on exit. But it was just a yo-yo, and with the air, whoever would get a run, it would just really depend lap by lap. So I felt like the top was the way to go at the end, and I had some good guys up there, but the air just didn't work out.
All right, well, Michael, great run through the course of the day, and talk to us about the run there, because we saw you up there through the course of the race, like we mentioned a moment ago, and you were really up in the top 10 for most of the race and putting yourself in a position to be in that position there at the end. Tell us about your strategy throughout the course of the day and what you were trying to do there through most of the race to get yourself into that position at the end.
Yeah, our team strategy at Daytona didn't work out. We tried to run in the back, and so I said Loud Pedals either bringing back the checkered flag or the steering wheel today. We almost got the checkered flag. We tried to make a run to the front at the first stint of the race, but we kind of got shuffled out. So we came in for pit stops around lap 33, and I had an atrocious pit stop. I downshifted to first on pit entry, kind of slid there on entry, and then I had a glitch on pit road in my stall, and I couldn't get the car to get service. So I lost about 30 seconds, lost the lead draft, was running around 35th, and thankfully we got a caution that came out. And me and Shane Parrish have talked a little bit, and we have a bit of a deal to work together a little bit sometimes. Ford sticking together. And on that restart, right in the middle of the race, there, he was on the outside, I was behind him, and we just hauled from about 25th all the way up to first and second. So that was the kind of pivotal moment, getting that caution and getting that run with Shane up to the front, 4 cars sticking together, and put us in good position for the end. Unfortunately, our Loud Pedal Motorsports teammates got into some wrecks in the middle of the race, so we kind of fizzled out there, but it was good to be at the front and wanted to put on a good show for the fans.
All right, well, from one very tough track at Talladega to another one next week, Dover Downs waiting for us next week. Do you like going into Dover here? Do you like your chances?
Dover's a fun track. I think it'll come down to strategy and tire wear. That track is pretty tough on tires. I do love rolling the top, keeping the tires on the car, so it should be a good race for the team. Just happy to run up front and get some good airtime for all our sponsors. I got to thank HPP Simulation, Clipping That Apex, Thumbs Up Cancer Down, Fleximation Systems, Ready to Frag, Sim Racing Apps, Host Venom, CJ Automotive, Amsoil by Adam Blatto, and everybody at ASRS and 3YTV for putting on the show.
All right. Well, Michael, great job here today. Second place, building some momentum for Dover next week. Congrats.
Thank you very much.
And we're going to hand it back over to Peter Short, where I believe he is down in victory lane with number 57, your winner, Craig.
I have made it to victory lane. And I'll tell you what, this man next to me led a lot of laps here tonight. And really, had he not come home with the checkered flag, it would have been severe disappointment for not only yourself, but all of Will Worcester Racing here tonight. Almost ended up wadded up there going on to the final lap, but fantastic save, and you were able to get around that number 72 right at the line. First off, tell us a little bit about your night, and secondly, tell us about that final lap, because A, fantastic save, and B, an even better pass.
Honestly, I don't know if I could have handled another disappointment. Every week, I've been really good, and I have messed it up somehow. So I figured I was just going to do it again this week. But the last one, I don't really know exactly what happened the last lap. I know Will was pushing me, and I just wiggled. And as soon as I wiggled, I just assumed they was going to get a run on me. I seen Will disappear in my mirror, and luckily there was just the three of us. So my plan was just to push Michael as hard as I could to maybe get a little gap on Greg. And that's kind of what happened. Get a little gap and was able to actually try to race Michael. And I don't know, I didn't think I could pass him on the high side, and Greg rolled up to my back bumper and just enough to get it, so it was awesome.
Yeah, I bet you were glad when you looked up and you said, oh man, the 83 is going to be right there on my bumper. Give me a little bit of help right there at the stripe. But all in all, fantastic finish. 8/1000ths of a second. Can't get all too much closer than that. Led so many laps tonight, 63 laps at Talladega. I mean, that's over 2/3 of the race. Have you ever led that much of a race here at Talladega in a league race?
No, never at Talladega or Daytona. These definitely, I'm not a restrictor plate guy, but the way this package works at the 1.5 miles, every week's almost restrictor plate, it feels like. So I guess I've just got a little more practice, and it's all teammates, man. I've done nothing but held it wide open the entire race and hugged the bottom. And at any time, Will, Tyler could have just pulled out and, tried to get it themselves, but they just committed to shoving me, and here we are.
Mac, that was going to be kind of my next point, actually, was going back to the final restart. You had Will to your outside. You were on the inside. Were you guys working together to kind of time that restart, or was it all, every man for themselves at that point?
Well, I'm not going to lie. The restart, we were going to try to time it the best we could. I kind of told him when I was going to go. But as far as what happened after that, we were just going to, play it the best we could. And it ended up working good. I was able to kind of jump up and pull him just enough to get him clear of Michael. But I didn't figure the second lane would form up as fast as they did and get the run that quick. Usually it takes a lap or two for them to decide who's going to go up there and start getting their momentum up. But they figured it out really quick and was coming at us. But I had 3 fast dudes pushing me with matching cars, so it's really tough to do anything with them.
Well, definitely had a fantastic run here tonight, all night long in that 57 machine. Next week, we go to Dover, Delaware. 1 mile racetrack, high banking, concrete, lots of tire wear, very slippery racetrack. Always asking the questions of the big bumps out of turn number 2 and turn number 4. It's a driver's racetrack, one where the driver can really make a difference. What are your thoughts about going there in 1 week's time?
Always enjoyed Dover. Been probably honestly my favorite track on the sim. That doesn't mean I'm going to be good at it, but it's one of my favorites to drive. It's so different than anything else we go to, and the dropping down in the corners, and when you come up out of the corners, the car has that weightless feel, and I don't know. We'll just do some practicing and hopefully have something for them next week.
Yeah, as you mentioned, that weightless feeling, that the roller coaster that is Dover International Speedway. It will be a fantastic show. Can't wait for it. Well, the good news is you do move up in points tonight with this finish. You move up to 12th place in points with your first win on the season here tonight. But before we let you go, you got any shout-outs for us?
Yeah, honestly, on this game, I never thought I would have shout-outs, but I have so many that I'm probably going to forget them. Perky Pints, Slice Pizza Bar for being on the car, sponsoring our team. Everybody at Will Worsler Racing, they've all helped out. You all seen what they done for me basically tonight, because I didn't do nothing. If it wasn't for them, I wouldn't have gotten the win. I got a couple buddies watching, Ross and Matt. Appreciate them watching and texting me. You know, it's awesome to have support like that. And then Dickie Worsler, she's always in the chat every week. You all know it, and she supports us every week. And just this is all about the team this week. I mean, that's what this restrictor plate stuff is. You can't do it yourself, and we just showed what Will Worsler Racing can do when we all team up and, you know, make something happen.
Yeah, it was very interesting to see the 3 teammates there locked together in the closing laps, and I told everyone, man, to beat them, you're going to have to divide and conquer them. And they weren't quite able to divide up you and Will there until at least the final lap when it all went down.
I have 2 more names.
Oh, go ahead.
I apologize. I told you I would forget them. But Wayne Lowe and AJ Digby helped us out. AJ helped us with the strategy. Because I was basically panicking the whole race if I had enough fuel, because when you're out front you burn so much, and he kept us perfect. I even had enough to do a good burnout, and Wayne Lowe jumped in, was spotting with us and just giving us different strategies and just keeping us on our toes. So without them too, they're awesome. So had fun. Thank you guys. Thank 3YTV.
Absolutely. Well, thanks for joining us. Good luck next week at Dover, and we'll hopefully get to talk to you then.
Yeah, that would be awesome. Thank you, guys.
All right. Well, folks, that was tonight's winner, the driver of the slice, Perky Pints, number 57, Craig Stykes. And you heard it from him. It is not just a one-man team. There's a lot of people that goes into winning one of these Hacksaw PC's Premier Series races. A lot of thought, a lot of effort, a lot of practice by these drivers. It definitely is not just as easy as clip your steering wheel to a computer desk and hit the loud pedal for 94 laps. So there's a lot to it. So pretty cool to hear that. But let's see if we can bring up tonight's final results for this fantastic race that we saw. The number 57 take home the checkered flag. Michael Krobot coming in second. Greg Evans third. Those top 3 with a little bit of a gap over Cody Spiker. Really, then, it's quite a big gap back to the number 11 of Tyler Seville. Mitch Brown even further back in the number 51. He was actually involved in that melee quite significantly, but he rebounded to finish 6th. Actually closes in a little bit on John Jenkins at the top of the table. So maybe your reigning series champion starting to make a run. Alan Young in the number 24 machine almost didn't make it into tonight's race. Was one of the alternate drivers in that number 24 car, finishes in 7th. Pete Baskins comes home in 8th. Adam Jersky in the Beef Jersky's Cheesecakes machine comes home 9th. And Brian Miyazik, Krobach's teammate, finishing in the 10th position. And Greg, why don't you take away 11th through 20th?
And coming home in the 11th position is the 85 of Eric Stanford with Shane Parrish, his teammate, behind him in 12th. Jay Crable was up in the mix for a little bit throughout the course of the race, comes home 13th. Sam Crow started shotgun on the field, comes home 14th position. Great run for Sam Crow. Ethan Adams rounds out the top 15 with a solid run, was up in the top 5 at one point. Chris Bouchard, Brandon Stokes caught up in one of the big ones there. John Van Varellis, we didn't get to talk about him a whole lot, but he started near the back also, and he worked his way up into the top 5 at one point. Great run for him. He comes home in 18th. Rounding out the top 20 is Travis McDaniel and John Jenkins, Peter.
In the 21st position tonight was the driver of the number 38 machine, Nick Gardner, and Nick made a great recovery to finish in the 21st position after being a lap down. Jason Stewart, another one of those drivers who was a lap down at one point, he comes home 22nd. Tony Schoen up there near the front right at the end, unfortunately getting involved in that accident, comes home 23rd. Will Wurzler, he was third coming into the final lap. He finishes down in 24th. Michael Whiting also almost didn't make the show here tonight. He comes home 25th. Kelsey Rogers had some troubles there in the race, finishing 26th. Doug Mullins in the number 18 Slice Porcupine's machine coming home 27th. Jonathan Holstein coming home 28th. Jake Douglas in the number 49 machine coming home 29th. And Jimmy McKee rounds out your top 30. And Greg, why don't you round out this 40 car field here tonight?
John Broussard comes home in the 31, 2 laps down. With him, Tim Knott, the 41, 7 laps down. The 95 of Danny Rogers, who got caught up in a couple of messes. Jared Haggerty had such a great run going early, got caught up in a mess as well. He winds up 7 laps down in 34th position in the 6 Cheerwine Toyota. James Lorello, another one who had such a great run going, caught up in an incident midway through the race, finishes 35th. David Washington and Woody Mahan, all 3 drivers involved in that wreck, ended their day 35th, 36th, and 37th. Coming home 38th is Troy Haight, rounding out the field. Alex Giese, who had those connection issues throughout the race, and Jordan Harnish, who lost the motor just 20 laps in.
Yeah, very tough to hear that so early in the race, losing a motor, didn't have any damage, just tucked up a little bit too tight underneath. I believe that was Michael Krobach at the time and Jessica Blamo. But Nicholas, any final thoughts about tonight's race? I mean, it was a pretty crazy race. Got to see a couple of strategies and a fantastic finish.
Most definitely, Peter. It was definitely a great race. And yes, like you said, a lot of strategies were put in effect throughout this race. And so from what I've counted about 4 close calls throughout that race. And of course, the others were wrecks. But yeah, 4 close calls, and they were very close. Definitely something to look back on if you ever want to see some nice close calls in the series. And yeah, overall, it was just a great race. I enjoyed it, and I did say that I knew the big one was coming at the end there, and it did. But it wasn't a green-white checkered because they did take the white flag for the final time there. So yeah, that's pretty much it for me. I mean, like I said, overall, it was a great race.
It was, and I gotta say, Craig Stykes, man, he cleaned up this racetrack like SERVPRO cleans up a big mess. He led 63 laps here tonight, and it looked really messy when that number 57 was sideways, and he cleaned it up, got it going back straight, took it home to victory lane. Want to give a few thank yous for us here on 3 White TV. Want to thank our friends over at SimTV for the camera angles, as well as Thomas Morris of OCR TV for helping out with the graphics package, which is always improving. And with some of the cool new benefits of ATVO, we might have some new cool things to come. We'll have to wait and see. Not adding too many spoilers out there, but should be a great show. Same time, same place next week at Dover International Speedway, where we have the Dirty Bird Sim Racing 150 here on 3 Wide TV. We'll see you all next week. See ya!